301, Captain of the Magic Attack Unit, Hound of Flames. See Captain Hannibal. The dragon is far stronger than we thought. We should retreat for now. A subordinate of Captain Bars, who was tumbling by my feet, shouts to the one-eyed man, spit flying from his mouth. You lot. Captain Bars, is it? His habit of being scared has passed on, it seems. It's been a while since I've been able to put in full effort. So burn this sight into your memories. The one-eyed man replies. Or rather, he practically gives a speech to everyone. It looks like the one-eyed man is the boss of the 80 here. At a glance, it looks he was putting on a show for his unit of about 8. Captain Bars was also leading 7 subordinates. Probably each unit is made of 8 people. And the leader of the battalion holds together the 10 units. Just in case, I want to check Captain Hannibal's status. I'd like to have an idea of the strength of their top class. Hannibal Grathers. Species Earth Huma. Condition Normal. LV 39/60. HP 262/262. Mepe 72/72. Attack 241+60. Defense 184+55. Magic 65. Speed 143. Equipment. Hand Mithril Greatspear B. Body Mithril Breastplate B. Characteristic skills. Grisha language, LV6 a spear user talent, LV6 a soft steps, LV5 fighting instinct, LV4 morale boost, LV2. Resistance skills. Physical resistance, LV3 magic resistance, LV2 poison resistance, LV4 paralysis resistance, LV3. Normal skills. Shockwave, LV3 a surprise attack, LV5 power, LV2 poison, LV6 a great jump, LV3. Title skills. Former leader of the Grey Bandits, LV- Starved Hunters Battalion Leader, LV- Spear King, LV4. His equipment is more or less high quality, but without them he's about the same as a Dofu. After all, a Dofu was at the limit for normal humans. If he's only this strong, then there's no problem. The only thing that worries me now is how much they can cooperate. It'll take time to kill them all one by one. Should I crush Captain Hannibal, then threaten the rest so I can quickly get away from this place? Nearby even-numbered units thoroughly surround the dragon. The units in the back should act to restrain it. Odd-numbered units protect the magic attack unit. As the foremost unit of the 70, my unit shall command both forces while looking for an opening to deal a decisive blow. Huh. Understood. We'll crush it flashily. With Captain Hannibal's order, they all move in unison. Cavalry move to surround me. Go. I bend my neck to look straight down, then call out to the nearby Lithivars. I hope they understand. Dr. Dragon God Sama? Probably, we're being asked to stand down. Baron interprets well. I nod my head. The idiots are lumped together. You lot. Burn them all. Hi-hi-ha. A mounted man in the back shouts to his surroundings, then raises a metal staff towards me. Fire Spirit Enchantment. Aura. Keep it up. My surroundings are bathed in a red light. Spread fire. Flame. Grim Burner. The cavalry in the back brandish their staffs. Red light bursts in the direction they point, various forms of flames erupting from the tips of their staffs. One of them throws a fireball, another produces a flamethrower. Though their forms differ, it's clear they intend to burn the Lithivars and myself to death. I raise my head up high, gathering all the magic power I can muster into my belly. I then whip my head forwards, spitting out the magic power in one go. It's the scorching breath of skill. The flames that I breathe out instantly swallow the oncoming smaller flames. I swivel my neck around the area. Goa! What happened? A misfire. Get back up. If you lose sight of your captain, get away. The flames I breathe burn the surroundings. A burning horse screams as it shakes off its rider, then flees from the area. In an instant, the surroundings have become pandemonium. The highest Ahuma's magic can reach is about 200. In exchange, as an Ouroboros, my magic power has just passed the 1000 mark. My defense is also over 500. The magic attack of Humas is nothing to worry about. 1203 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 1203 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 87 to 88. Title skill Calamity has risen from level 7 to 8. Once breath does this much? It's good experience point efficiency. Though saying that, I'm not particularly enthusiastic about it. At this rate, by the time this is over, all my bad title skills will have hit their max. This isn't how. The man who was calling to use fire magic earlier stands dumbfounded. While the other cavalry are trying to escape, one man stands. He was thrown off his fleeing horse and let go of his staff as it was sent flying from his grip.
Captain Hound, let's fall back for now.
A cavalryman rushes over and extends a hand to him. That man's also a captain? In order to make them break as quickly as possible, I should prioritize taking out the leaders.
Guo!
While being careful of the Lithivars by my feet, I step forwards, kicking aside the cavalry in my way. With a single blow, I break their swords and shatter their bodies. I slam my tail into the ground to scatter earth, reducing the available footing for horses while also extinguishing the still-burning flames. At the same time, I flap my wings to shoot 6 wind slashes to various places, including towards Captain Hound. The blades of wind create cracks in the ground, shockwaves blasting out from where they impact. The horse that gets caught in it collapses, and the rider falls to the ground before desperately trying to scramble away from me. The sound of screams and the loud braying of horses fill the area. 588 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 588 experience points have been acquired. The cloud of sand is blown away by the wind. The ground where I shot the 6 wind slashes is split open, leaving only dents in the ground, blood, and pieces of flesh. 302 Battalion Commander, Hannibal the One-Eyed. A run for it. It's too strong, way too strong. Why is there a monster like that in this forest? But if we run without gathering information, Tolman-sama will kill us.
Is this the time to be saying that?
Can you still say that while looking at it? Have you gone mad with fear? That's no ordinary dragon. The cavalry scatter one after the other. At this rate, fighting will become meaningless. I turn my gaze to the depression in the ground that was used to be Captain Hound. Mixed with pieces of flesh and blood, a single arm falls to the ground. A short distance away, a blood-stained metal staff that was blasted away by the impact rolls through the forest. Finding it difficult to look at, I turn my gaze downwards. Immediately, I spot cavalry moving against the flow, charging towards me. It's not a single cavalryman. There's 6, no 7. They pass a man riding a fleeing horse, who falls from his horse with blood gushing from a wound. Fufin, what an idiot. Trying to flee without fulfilling Hannibal-sama's order. One of them says with a backward glance at the collapsed man. Is he sane? The oncoming cavalry slip past arrows shot by the Lithivars. An arrow grazes a cheek, but the man just licks the bleeding wound and laughs fearlessly. Trampling over corpses, they take the shortest route to me. It's not to my extent, but they're fast. I guess I should have checked the horses' statuses too. I fire 3 wind slashes towards them. 2 of them are hit, but the third dodges at the last second, then continues to charge at me without slowing down.
Gah!
Black light coils around one of them. It's my partner's death. He instantly falls limply from his horse. 522 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 522 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 88 to 89. The remaining 4 come in reach of my arm.
Do it now?
One shouts, and the surviving men throw their swords at me, then hold their hands up high. I ignore the swords, not evading them. The swords leave scratch marks in my skin, then fall to the ground.
Poison!
Paralyze! The cavalrymen shout in unison, and my front is wrapped in purple and yellow mist. It quickly rises and obscures my vision. A smokescreen. I swing my arm downwards to where I expect them to be. With a whoosh, the poison cloud parts. Just as I realize I missed, the cavalrymen leap out of the cloud to either side, turning their back on me. Giho.
Shit, I breathed in a bit. It's horrible. Get away from it. I'm about to attack, but then feel something's off.
These guys, was their objective really to throw their weapons and run? Indeed, it might have been shallow, but they did make a wound, so poison mist is entering and making my body a little numb, but this degree of status condition isn't a hindrance at all. After the four flee the poison cloud, a single jet black horse cuts through the mist towards me. The horse has one eye gouged out and is covered in old scars. It's only the horse, no rider. I swing my claws up, gouging the horse's chest. A bright red line traces from its chest to its head, then it tumbles forwards from the momentum of its charge while spurting blood. 124 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 124 experience points have been acquired. Just the horse? Where's the rider? Before I can find the answer, I suddenly sense a presence above my head. Power. Power. And power. It's a voice I remember. It belongs to the battalion leader, Hannibal. This is my strongest blow. With spear in hand and a contorted body, I see the figure of the one-eyed Hannibal. His huge spear stabs into my forehead. A sharp pain runs through my head. He had his subordinates create a smokescreen of poison mist, then thinned his presence with the soft steps and separated from his horse with a great jump to strike my head. What a crazy guy. Guh. And again another blow. Using the recoil of his spear thrust, he turns his body and slams his fist into the end of the spear. The spear digs in deeper and blue blood spurts from my head. That's our boss. He did it. The boss really is our unit's strongest. Fohaha fools. Now Hannibal-sama of the Starved Hunters' 7th unit has. I swing my jaw down towards the falling Hannibal. What Ash? This. He twists his body to receive my chin with his shoulder. The sensation of his bones breaking is transmitted to me through my jaw. Ga. A-triple-A-A. A-A-A. Hannibal screams with his mouth open wide. Just as he hits the ground, my partner slams her chin into his body to shove him into the ground. With a splat, I hear the sound of him being crushed. 234 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 234 experience points have been acquired. I scrape my head against a nearby boulder, dislodging the spear from my forehead. It gouges flesh as it snaps out, the fragments dancing through the air. Partner. Sorry, please heal me. Gah. She cries, and my vision is bathed in a light that seeps into my forehead. The wound closes in an instant. I turn my eyes to the four of Hannibal's direct subordinates who withdrew after scattering the poison mist. As they watch me, their laughing faces are replaced by pallid expressions. BB boss. One of them stops their horse and starts to head back to me. See, come back. Boss is already dead. Their horses pick up speed as they run away. I look around. Already, the 80 cavalrymen have disappeared. All that remains is a mountain of corpses. It looks like most of them ran away. Title skill Calamity has risen from level 8 to 9. It keeps increasing. I already made my resolve though. It might be better if I don't evolve next time since I have this. 303 Battle before the village. As expected. Dragon God Sama's power is overwhelming. So then? For that matter, were we really needed? Weren't we just in the way? The Lithivars are somewhat more cheerful than when we came here. But for me, it seems the main problem is what comes next. I knew I'd be able to handle that battle by myself, but I didn't have the slightest clue there'd be this many of them. Thinking about the worst case, I should hurry to return to the village now. With the village's defense in mind, even if it's by myself, I need to return as fast as I can. It would be terrible if they were to be attacked by other units moving in parallel. I'd thought there'd be a few dozen at most, but guessing from the atmosphere earlier, those 80 weren't even their main force. But thinking about it normally, there's no reason for them to split up their forces so much. I'd like to believe it'll end with those 80. Without knowing their objective, there's no way of being sure. If they want revenge, then they might have split up their forces to ensure no one can get away. But thinking about the atmosphere of that unit earlier, that wasn't the impression I got. It looked like their morale was only to the extent that they were here to claim land. As an upper estimate, the rest should be no more than 100. Once they know about me, they might raise a white flag and run away. As I am now, I'm pretty much untouchable by humans. Even if I were to fight that hero now, it would be my overwhelming victory. From the direction of the village, I hear a shrill noise. It's a sound I remember hearing before, the sound of a truga that the Lithivars used to signal. So they came over there too. Hearing that sound, the delighted faces of the Lithivars turn pale. Guh! I groan to get their attention, then look towards the village. Dragon God Sama? You're returning to the village, right? We shall accompany you. I shake my head then break into a run towards the village. Dr. Dragon God Sama. Even if it's just me, please take me with you. When I think I won't be able to do anything in this crisis. Sorry, but if I let you all on then I'd have to worry about speed, and if you're targeted I don't know if I'd be able to protect you. I don't want to move in such a flashy way. If we were attacked by the survivors of that fight or their allies, I could end up being too late to save the village. So I'm prioritizing the village now. I kick off the ground and leap into the air, then stretch out my wings and fly straight towards the village. My leg catches and breaks a tall tree, so I raise my altitude a bit. I see smoke rising from the direction of the village. In an instant, my mind goes pure white. But now's not the time to stop. I consciously change my state from confusion to anger as I increase my flight speed. Just in front of the village, a battle is unfolding between cavalry wearing the same flashy clothes and the Lithivars. The cavalry number about 150, while the Lithivars have 80 at most. All over the battlefield, horses whose legs have been shot by the Lithivars are lying collapsed. There are traces of pitfall traps being dug. It looks like clay was used to dig pits to reduce the mobility of the horses, and then arrows were shot into the gaps. They're just a little cunning. I spot an enemy soldier cutting the spear of a Lithivar. The soldier then restores his stance from the swing and aims for the Lithivar's head. In that instant, 3 arrows pierce his exposed armpit. It looks like some Lithivars were hiding in the shadow of a tree and watching for an opening. These cowardly barbarians. Moaning, the man falls to his knees. The reverse end of the spear is thrust into his throat, finishing him off. It looks like the Lithivars have been skillfully separating them and taking advantage of the terrain. But the numbers overwhelmingly favor the enemies. It's clear the battle will eventually turn bad. I land on the battlefield and raise my head high to give a powerful roar. My roar resounds through the surroundings, and the sound of clanging weapons pauses for a second. Dragon God Sama has come. We have Dragon God Sama with us. We can fight to the end with our pride as Lithivars. The Lithivars' morale is raised, and conversely the enemy cavalry are frustrated. It's here, the Lithivars' Dragon God. It's an unexpectedly difficult battle, and now that's here too. Its ability to fly around is a problem, focus on killing it. If you can't, aim for its wings. Has anyone here experienced a dragon subjugation before? Earlier, it was 8 soldiers to a unit and 10 units to a battalion. With about 150 here. There's about 2 battalions here. What's more, the smoke is rising from inside the village rather than here. So I can't take too much time. Are there over 300 in total? I can't afford to deal with all of them. The targets are the captains, the commander, and the unit under the commander's direct command. Hannibal's unit was clearly a source of morale for them. If I were to smash the commander's unit, it should become a complete rout. See Captain Libras. Where are you going? Withdraw. My dad never told me it'd be this hard a battle. This isn't what I was told. And what's with that dragon, it's way different than what I was told to expect. I look towards the source of the voice to see a plump young man yapping away. Monsters change their appearance all the time. Listen, Toman-sama hates deserters most of all. If my captain flees, even though it's only a formality, as your subordinate, my honor would. You can only talk about fleeing so freely because you don't know Toman-sama's wrath. I have nothing to do with that. My dad knows Toman Kushaku-1 personally. He said all I had to do was stand around. This is wrong. This is way different from what I was told. I'm going back. It doesn't look like just because someone's a captain, their morale will be high. It looks like this'll be a pain, so should I just leave them alone? 1 Kushaku honorific for a marquis, a noble 1 step down from Duke/Duchess. 304 Battalion Commander, Ernest the Witch who invites death. If there are 2 battalions present then, there should be 2 people leading them. I look around, searching for the commanders. Hey, isn't that it? Receiving my partner's thoughts, I follow her line of sight. There she is. I spot a woman wearing gaudy makeup, holding a long staff. She looks about 30 years of age. You guys, ignore the small fry and do something to get that big one's attention. I'll pull out its guts.
Ha, Ernest-sama?
Understood. But it's okay if we kill it, right? It looks like the morale of the troops near her is higher than elsewhere. Ernest Armenia. Species Earth Huma. Condition Normal. LV 37/60. HP 188/188. MP 218-264. Attack 63 plus 14. Defense 138 plus 55. Magic 268 plus 62. Speed 110. Equipment. Hand, Mithril Longstaff, B. Body, Mithril Breastplate, B. Characteristic skills. Grisha Language, LV7 Sorcerer Talent, LV5. Resistance skills. Physical Resistance, LV1 Magic Resistance, LV2. Normal skills. Circle Staff Dance, LV4 Total Concentration, LV4 Rest, LV5 Care, LV2 Physical Barrier, LV4 Fireball, LV5 A Slow, LV4 Poison, LV4 Fire Arrow, LV2 Dark Sphere, LV3 Demon Hand, LV1 Death, LV1. Title Skills. Black Witch Bloodline, LV-White Mage, LV4 Black Mage, LV6 A Staff Combat, LV4 Witch Who Invites Death, LV-Starved Hunters Battalion Commander, LV-. Looking at her title skills, it's clear she's one of the commanders. She's also got tons of useful skills lined up. It looks like it's not her forte, but she has the bare minimum of close combat knowledge. Adding in the staff's correction, she's got a magic stat of over 300. I've never seen a Huma with a magic stat that high other than the hero. Mine's over 3 times that number though. My eyes meet the woman sorcerer with earnestness, and she laughs scornfully, then glares at her subordinates. Unlike the magic attack unit, the other members of the unit all have a sword or spear in hand. Their tactic is probably to have the others stand in front while Ernest's fires off magic. Buy me 10 seconds. I'll kill it the same as before. Following Ernest's order, her subordinates raise a cheer as they charge forwards. It's coming, Ernest-sama's devil hand. Commander Sama, what is? You wouldn't know since you were just assigned here. Just watch. Hee, its guts are gonna be pulled out. So many humans and monsters have been pulled apart that it's funny. One man who can't follow what's happening asks another. Devil hand. Is it the demon hand, a skill she had? It looks like the skill level is low, but that just means it's that hard a skill to use. Behind them, Ernest holds her staff vertically and closes her eyes. A blood vessel appears on her forehead. I swing my tail, scattering the oncoming soldiers. With just a graze, the horses and soldiers are sent flying separate in the air, then hit the ground hard. I swing my arm towards a soldier who comes in front of me. You go. I hit the soldier towards Ernest. 2 of her subordinates in the way meet each other's eyes, then raise their weapons together. Clay Walt. A 2-layered wall of earth rises, intercepting the flying soldier. So they have some magic knowledge? Great, just keep it occupied. The soldier's body crashes into the wall of earth and pierces it. The 2-layered earth wall crumbles apart, leaving only the base remaining. 174 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 174 experience points have been acquired. As the soldier hits the wall, I receive an experience point notification, telling me he died. The soldier's body soars between the 2 of Ernest's subordinates. It continues on to collide with her horse. The horse screams and collapses, and Ernest, who had her eyes closed, falls to the ground. Trampled on by the horse, she screams and rolls about. Traces of blood stick to the ground. Demon hand! She raises her bloodied face high and shouts. A red light appears in front of her and swirls into a vortex, a gigantic dark red arm appearing from inside. Its claws, or rather, the tips of its fingers are bizarrely long, giving it a grotesque appearance. Ashi. And not yet, Ernest-sama. Erase it, please erase it. Jai-ah. The hand crushes closed, and the humans in range are squished together with their horses. Only a head escapes, landing neatly on top of the pile of minced meat. Scraping the ground, the devil's hand pushes forwards, devouring the flesh of allies and fallen horses alike. Indeed, that's an outrageous skill. If she'd caught me by surprise with it, it could have been dangerous. Though it doesn't look like she's proficient enough to manage a sneak attack. Seeing as she activated it in a hurry before the 10 seconds had passed after falling from her horse, it looks like she doesn't have any control over it. If I stop it now, it'll be a waste of magic power. Stop that damn dragon's movements. It'll beat it to death.
As long as it hits, none can win against this devil hand.
Ernest yells, her face covered in blood and hair disheveled.
That's impossible, Ernest-sama. Please stop. Stop, don't come, ah.
Another person is caught up and transformed into minced meat. I flap my wings to fire wind slashes. As before, I shoot a total of 8 shots. The blades of wind skim the battlefield, bisecting horses and riders before exploding into clouds of dust. Without time to react, the nearby soldiers die, only their short screams remaining. 1136 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 1136 experience points have been acquired. One of the 8 shots flies into the palm of the devil hand. For a moment, it looks as though it is erased by the hand, but the next instant the blade of wind bursts out of the back of it. Blue blood spurts out, then along with the blood, the hand transforms into red light. My invincible magic. Crawling on the ground, Ernest braces her staff, but she is cut in two by the blade of wind which hadn't lost any speed. The blade then collides with the ground, vanishing in a cloud of dust. 222 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 222 experience points have been acquired. It has only been 10 short seconds since I laid eyes on Ernest. The other commander is. I wonder, looking around, and the soldiers who meet my eyes stop moving and drop their weapons. It looks like they've finally realized the difference in strength. Uea.
That's why I sighed.
Uea. The plump man from before, Captain Libras, rides his horse away as fast as he can. Unable to dodge, he slams into a tree, but quickly gets to his feet without paying attention to his injury and runs. The sight of his ungainly flight fans the fear in the others, or perhaps reduces the hurdle to them fleeing. Either way, one after the other, they throw their weapons down and run. Personally, I'm glad they're fleeing. I may have made my resolve, but I don't have a hobby of slaughtering low ranks. Besides, smoke is rising from the village. I need to get over there as soon as possible.
We can't do it. Let's leave it to Azalea. Hey, what do you think you're doing running into the village?
I need to let Tolman-sama know. The general is in the village, it seems. Even after seeing what came of Ernest, they think that person is strong enough? 305 face to face. The inside of the village is already in a terrible state. Cavalrymen wearing the same military uniform cover one side. Buildings are destroyed and fires have been lit in places. It looks like the Lithivars are fighting back, but their casualties aren't small. The ground is soaked with blood and bodies are scattered around. I failed. I never thought that the enemy could be this numerous. Should I have stayed here rather than move around? No, there's a limit to how many Lithivars can take refuge in a single place. If the group I crushed earlier all came into the village at once, those in places I couldn't cover would have all died. There's no use thinking about what could have been done. Now that I'm here, I won't let anyone else die. Besides, the damage shouldn't be as bad as it looks. This village has basements prepared for abyss attacks. The non-combatants should be hidden underground. The issue is whether or not they've been found, though. Thinking that I need to drive them away quickly, I look around for a good wind/target, but my head stops moving. My eye is caught by a man dressed in a way unsuitable for a battlefield. He looks to be in his 30s. His hair is curled unpleasantly, and a small, round mustache rests above his mouth. His horse is fitted with a gaudy tack made of gold, and the person in question is wearing a mantle embroidered with gold. His appearance stands out from the other cavalrymen. Leave the finishing blow to me.
Watch my sword skills,
he says as he draws his sword, riding towards the kneeling figure of a Lithivar covered in blood.
As expected of Tolman-sama. What marvelous sword technique.
After cutting this one, you should switch to your next sword. You have yet to test the sword Sabern Hakashaku one gave you. The atmosphere around the Tolman guy is different. The others are savage and cruel, but for these guys alone, it's almost as though they came here for a spot of falconry. I'm too taken aback at first to understand, but as I come to my senses my heart is filled with a seething rage. It's distant, but at this range, I should make it in time. I shoot a wind slash towards Tolman.
Moo? What's that?
Tolman stops his horse and turns around, shouting, "Please forgive my discourtesy." One of the cavalrymen drives his horse closer, then kicks the horse's back to launch himself at Tolman. Tolman is sent flying, soaring through the air. The cavalryman who dived at him lands on the ground and quickly lies face down. The blade of wind cuts the horses in two. Tolman's shoulder is grazed, his mantle tearing off in a spray of blood. The wound isn't shallow, but nor is it fatal. 92 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 92 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 89 to 90. I missed. Clenching his shoulder with bloodshot eyes, Tolman screams.
Gu-yu-yu-yu.
T. Tolman-sama. Who is it who committed such insolence towards me? Capture them. I'll torture them to death. The attitude of that Tolman guy is clearly different from the rest. He might be an important figure to them. Should I kill him? I'd rather capture him if possible. Go-h. I look up to the sky and roar, packing magic power into my throat before releasing it with all my strength. If the main force is on their way, I want to thin their numbers, but more importantly, I don't want the village to be a battlefield anymore. When they hear my voice, they should split into those who run away and those who take the initiative and attack me. Either way, the number fighting the Lithivars should decrease. As planned, cavalry start appearing from all over the village. That's just fine, I'll take them on together. However, before that there's him. Aiming towards Tolman, I break into a run.
Summon.
The cavalryman who protected Tolman earlier brandishes his sword. For lights float in the air, transforming into slender bright red dragons with huge wings. Supporting Tolman's shoulder, he mounts one of them. Tolman Kaka has been injured as a result of my mistake. We're falling back for now. Bring down the dragon, no matter what it takes. He reports to the surrounding cavalrymen as his dragon starts flying away. That dragon. It's slower than me, but it's still fast. The remaining 3 fly towards me at low altitude. Species, Little Wyvern. Condition, normal. LV, 26/60. HP, 221/221. Mepe, Osuta opt. So it's AC plus rank monster specialized in speed.
Kigaya.
Kigaya. Jigaya. I shoot a wind slash towards each of the 3. 2 receive direct hits and crash into the ground, spurting blood, but 1 deftly somersaults to dodge. 520 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 520 experience points have been acquired. The one that dodged presses on towards me. I stop its movements with my claws as my partner sinks her teeth into its back. 270 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 270 experience points have been acquired. The dragon carrying that cavalryman and Tolman is already far away, having become a speck in the sky.
That guy.
His speed of judgment was crazy fast. He realized he couldn't win against me and took flight instantly, leaving behind some obstacles. I might have let a troublesome guy get away. I guess I should have at least checked his status. I could still easily give chase, but I can't exactly leave all the cavalry behind in the village. Captain Elon, I was thinking you were late. Where's your unit? I hear an angry voice from the edge of the village. Being shouted at is a cavalryman covered in blood. We ran into a stupidly strong Lithivar brat on the way and were wiped out. A brat, you say? You were done in by a single kid? A kid? No way, is it Arrow? She came close to the village to prepare for their attack? That's not all. That brat was wielding strange magic. And we were attacked by monsters. Azalea's flying dragon caught their interest and I was able to slip away, but if you had to flee before a single brat, perhaps it would have been better if you stayed to die. I did my best not to die so I could report. Arrow chased after the flying dragon? That guy's probably a key figure for the enemies. If those 2 can be pinned down, the fighting might come to a close. Entering the village might have brought needless chaos, so her choice might be for the best. But a person who can easily summon monsters over C rank can't be a small fry. One of them had a heavy wound, but it wasn't fatal. If they have healing magic, they can recover right away. I'm not sure if Arrow will be able to handle them. I just have to hope she doesn't act rashly. Either way, I need to deal with the soldiers filtering into the village as quickly as possible. Hey, Commander Azalea fled with Tolman-sama. Azalea should be able to slay an Amphies without problem. Its physique is different from what we heard, so it might be dangerous. Fortunately, it looks like their morale isn't so good after their leader fled. Everyone, follow Commander Allen. I hear a bellow from the village center. Looking at the source, I spot a giant close to 3 meters tall. The horse he's riding on seems to be a different species from the rest. It's a huge black horse with thick legs. Its mane is bizarrely long, reaching its legs, and a suspicious light shines in its eyes. Don't falter. Ood has destroyed dragons alone before. I will also destroy it. A troublesome-looking person has come out. For that matter. Is that really a human? One Hakashaku, a counter-earl, a rank 1 step down from a marquis. 306, a certain noble's tyranny 3, sighed Tolman.
Guga. That dragon.
It injured my shoulder.
Guh.
Supporting my body on Azalea, I ride the flying dragon away from the battlefield. It shot a cowardly long-range attack from my blind spot. For one with such a large body, it sure fights dirty. As the guardian deity of uncivilized monkeys, perhaps such behavior is appropriate. Hey Azalea.
Hurry up and cast High Rest on my shoulder.
I understand your feelings of wanting to hurry, but my concentration is slightly lacking. Please bear with me until we meet up with the 4th Battalion that was left behind. I cannot apologize enough that my lack of skill is causing your medical treatment to be delayed.
WH. Why you intend to fall back that far?
I can still fight once my wound is healed.
Why would you?
I am curious. Why did Azalea choose to produce his flying dragon and withdraw from the battlefield? As it is Azalea, there must be some reasoning behind his actions, but surely there is no need to hurry that much? As things are, the extermination of the barbarians will be left entirely to Alan. I carefully selected my weapons for this day, but it will come to naught. My feelings of restlessness cannot settle down. Turn around at once, Azalea. I am going to kill that dragon. If we don't return quickly, Alan will have already destroyed it. He is talented, but a complete idiot. It is unlikely he would think to leave any prey for me. Alan is a descendant of the endangered race of giants and is known as Big Lump Alan. He has enough strength to subdue an average solitary dragon by himself, and in a plain strength contest among the entirety of the starved hunters, he would be won by a large margin. I am aware this is most rude, however.
What is it?
For one such as Alan, there will be nothing he can do. He is insufficient even as a rear guard. At best, he is no more than a small pebble in its path. That is why I am flying away without landing. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalions that entered the village with us. It would be best to consider them destroyed, I expect. A few of the other battalions should be safe.
Ah?
For a moment, I am unable to understand the meaning of his words. The 3rd Battalion is a bit lacking in adaptability, but in pure power it is the best of all the battalions. The 1st Battalion is filled with fearless fighters coordinated under Azalea's leadership. For them to be destroyed.
What is he saying?
That speed, range, power. It is incomparable to any monster I have seen so far. While I was in the service of Gobiadanshaku 1, I took part in the subjugation of a living mound, but I can only imagine that it is far and away superior to it. I have pride in my broad knowledge of monsters, but I cannot determine what that dragon was. It was far too unfamiliar. A living mound. They have been called small mountains come to life, lumps of earth covered in ivy. They are feared as B-rank threats, but as they stay hidden in their mountain homes and rarely descend, occasions when a country must intervene are rare. Gobiadanshaku's family had owned a mine for generations, but due to the living mound, could not operate it properly. The one who led the effort to subjugate it was none other than Azalea. That was the event that caused Azalea to catch my eye, so I know it well. The dragon was far stronger than that. Don't say something so preposterous. Stronger than the B-rank living mound.
Why would a monster like that be supporting the Lithivars? This time let us withdraw.
Reporting this to the country is a concern. Ridiculous. There's no way we could do such a thing. What's more, if I were to lose the upper echelons of the starved hunters at this time, my path to the throne will be cut. Are you saying I should let this perfect opportunity pass before my eyes?
No.
As long as you are alive, any number of chances will present themselves. I will continue to support you with all I have, so please make a wise judgment here. This is no place for one such as yourself to risk their life.
Goo goo.
Goo goo. Even if he says that, it is highly unlikely that such a perfect opportunity will come round a second time. And even though he says that dragon is stronger than the living mound, his equipment and subordinates, as well as his own abilities, should be far greater than back then. Gobiadanshako was said to have feared Azalea's power and used acts similar to torture to snuff out any rebellious intent from him. Originally, Azalea was the survivor of a priest in Gobiadanshako's domain who performed heretical techniques on orphans. When the church was raided by royal soldiers and the priest arrested, Azalea was found in the basement along with the scattered remains of orphans the church was supposed to be raising. His high physical abilities and ability to handle flare magic beyond what the normal capability of a Huma may be related to such a background. That is why Gobiadanshako feared the abnormal Azalea. His excellent swordsmanship was beyond that which can be handled by a third-rate swordsman. Since becoming my subordinate, his talent has had far more opportunities to bloom. That dragon, if Azalea were to put in his full effort, could he truly not handle it somehow? By no means is he so scared of dying that he would threaten my life to forcibly retreat. This ungrateful bastard. He's pushing his luck. I look back suddenly as I spot multiple cavalrymen running through the forest. That bright red hair. Is that the commander of the 2nd Battalion, Grodel? Looking closer, it appears he is accompanied by 10 soldiers from various units. It makes me question what happened to his direct subordinates. That bastard. He's fled from his battalion. If it's like this, then the units who entered the Lithovar's den may truly have been destroyed. But them meeting up with him like this is fortunate. Hey Azalea, is that not Grodel down there?
Let us descend for now. We can talk after that.
However, we are close to the 4th Battalion, so please. Normally I would hear an immediate reply, but his response is awfully delayed. Even though I am already so frustrated by him. I had thought he was quick-witted, but when a crisis approaches me, is this all he can do? Do you not see? My wound is deep. If only you had dealt with it better, I wouldn't have had to bear such an injury. At this rate, my famed arm as the Sword Lord will endure lasting damage. Hurry up and descend. This is an order, do you understand? Yes, I cannot apologize enough. The flying dragon tilts to the side, lowering our altitude and bringing us near Grodel. As we draw close to the ground, I notice that the soldiers accompanying Grodel are carrying a Lithovar brat with them.
Hehe.
Dolman-sama. I caught one of their brats. Please listen. They know about the carbuncle. Grodel shouts to me, a strained smile on his face. It seems he's asking me to overlook his desertion. Because of this idiot, the battle in the village is as good as lost. But let us put that to the side. Information about the carbuncle is certainly fortunate. Bringing it is worthy of praise. At worst, if I can at least retrieve the carbuncle, I may still have a faint path to the throne.
Che.
I shall have to settle for second best. Perhaps I shall use that brat to vent my frustration. That is most good, Toman-sama. If you hollow out their eyeballs and bend their limbs to expose the bones, it will feel more refreshing than anything. His tastes are as horrible as ever. Well, as for myself, I do not dislike watching small fry succumb to their irritation and anger. Silent, Azalea glares at Grodel. What's wrong, Azalea? It could work, maybe. What? After the information has been extracted, would you mind leaving me the barbarian child? With it, I may be able to trap the dragon and render it powerless. Assuming the dragon truly is supporting the Lithivars, that is.
Is that so?
Well said. As expected of Azalea. It seems he is back to his usual self. If you were to lend me the 4th Battalion as well as the remnants of the other units, against a monster, Nell of the 4th Battalion will be able to fight to his heart's content. I understand your disdain for him, but if he were to fight at his strongest, he is a far superior soldier to Alan. I will leave you to it. Take whatever you judge that you will need. As we are lacking in information, it is a risky proposition, however. Please leave his forest for now. This area is far more dangerous than we anticipated. If by any chance you were to lose your life, it would be a grave loss to Ardesia. Very well. I shall leave everything here to you, Azalea. I feel dissatisfied, but it is rare for Azalea to say this much. From that, I can understand that it is such a dangerous dragon. I shall believe in his words, step back, and await good news. Arg.
Hey, stop.
Suddenly Grodel screams while pulling on his horse's reins. His horse slows, then stops as though it bumping into something. It's not just Grodel, but the others too. Once the horses stop, they quiver as though tied by invisible ropes.
WH. What is happening?
A monster, it seems. Since I plan on fighting that dragon later, I want to avoid wasting magic power.
Azalea says, jumping off the flying dragon.
He lands near Grodel and draws his sword, brandishing it towards the surroundings. Just as he does, Grodel's horse struggles, throwing him to the ground. A moment later, the flying dragon that I'm riding on drops to the ground. From how Azalea handles it, I spot a thread meant to seal his movements. It seems it's a spider monster that we're facing. Did we stumble into a spider nest? Well, low-rank monsters are no match for us. Immediately after I dismount, a dense fog starts spreading out throughout the area.
What is this?
While I am taken aback, I hear a scream from a short distance away.
Monster. It's a monster. Help me.
What are they doing, being scared of a low-rank monster? I wonder, but in the next instant, I hear the sound of something being forcefully crushed. Looking towards the source, I make out the faint outline of a small woman. However, one arm alone is strangely large. It's far too eerie a silhouette. WH. My sword falls from my hand. His expression grim, Azalea shouts.
It's an undead.
It will take some time to take it down.
Grodel.
To be safe, take Tolmankaka and retreat on the flying dragon towards the 4th Battalion. The rest of you, abandon your horses and flee in the same direction, taking the child with you. Make sure to not lose the child. Understand what will happen if you flee empty-handed.
Hans and Jade with me.
We aim to stop the undead and the spider and subjugate them. But as I earlier, for the sake of the future battle, I cannot use magic here. Keep that in mind as you fight. In case this battle drags on, once you meet up with the 4th Battalion, send reinforcements. One after the other.
What is up with this forest?
1 Danshaku, a baron, the lowest noble rank. 307 Arrow versus Azalea. 1 side Azalea. Azalea's point of view. The silhouette of the girl inside the fog swings its disproportionately large arm, and the head of a soldier is crushed. He doesn't even have a chance to scream. It's clearly an instant death. He probably couldn't even tell it was coming. That grotesque humanoid silhouette and this miasma. There's no mistaking that we're under attack from an undead. It's arrived at the worst possible time. Even though I need to perform perfectly in order to get through this, monsters were laying in wait to ambush us, preventing me from leaving with Tolmankaka and the hostages. It seems Grodel stumbled into a spider's nest. It's clear they're using some sort of technique to seal the horse's movements. I don't like to consider it, but they must have some intelligence. Perhaps the Lithivars used some special ritual to raise an undead as their guardian. WH. Tolmankaka's voice trembles as he watches the tragic scene unfold. His sword slips from his hand and the blade clangs to the ground. My priorities right now are preserving Tolmankaka's life and securing the hostages. Without the hostages, I would frankly have no way to proceed.
It's an undead.
I'll need some time to take it down.
Grodel.
To be safe, take Tolmankaka and fall back on the flying dragon towards the 4th Battalion. The rest of you, abandon your horses and flee in the same direction, taking the children with you. Grodel raises his arm in a salute, but despite his reckless front, he has an easily frightened personality. Tolmankaka trusts him because of how he calmly fulfills dangerous missions, but that is not because he is brave, but rather because he is highly capable of reacting to crises. If it's him, then it'll be fine. Until there is a material threat to his life, he is numb to the danger. And when he feels the danger approaching, he swiftly takes responsibility for his subordinates and falls back. In fact, this time, it seems he quickly gave up on fighting and prepared a gift so as not to incur Tolmansama's anger. That is why he was able to escape from the village the quickest. I don't think this habit of Grodel's is a shortcoming. It's true that such methods have allowed him to earn merit. But I am apprehensive that one day he will make an irreparable mistake as a result. At the very least, he's not suited as a rear guard. He's more suited for leading the escape. I'm not happy to entrust Tolmankaka to such a man, but I'm not at liberty to select anyone else at the moment. Be sure to not lose the children. Know what will happen if you flee empty-handed. We have 10 captured Lithivar children, and with the death of one of Grodel's group a moment ago, they are 10 soldiers strong. The numbers are the same, but I want Grodel's hands to be free in case of an emergency. The more that remain here, the fewer hostages can be secured. We have many hostages, but with the opponent's strength unknown, I can't risk fighting by myself. Even if I threaten them, they may flee empty-handed. With that in mind, the most I can have remain here would be two. Hans and Jade with me. We aim to stop the undead in Spider and subjugate them. But as I earlier, for the sake of the next battle, I cannot use magic here. Keep that in mind as you fight. In case this battle drags on, once you meet up with the 4th Battalion, send reinforcements. At the moment, I must be careful to avoid using magic. 2 shots of flare would surely bring them down, but later, I must subdue that pale dragon essentially by myself. I estimate it as being high B rank. Or at worst, a rank. In addition, if it's an endurance type, then my means of killing it are quite limited. It's not a spell I enjoy using, but I may have to use Dragaflare for the first time in a while. The more MP I can preserve, the greater my chances of success in the coming battle. But without being able to use magic, there's no doubt I'll be forced into close combat by the poor visibility. I know the spider's lurking in the fog somewhere, but I can't pin down its location. I'm in quite the unfavorable position. I don't think I'll need them, but just to be safe, I've requested reinforcements. Nell is on standby with the 4th Battalion. With his legs, he should be the first to arrive here. He isn't a magic user, so conserving magic power isn't a concern for him. There should be little risk of him falling to this level of monsters. In response to my words, Grodel springs into action. I'm relieved to see there's no hesitation in his movement. He's an easy-to-understand man. Alright, understood.
Let's go, Toman-sama.
Supporting the staggering Tolman-Kaka, Grodel cautiously heads out of the mist.
Gale.
A girl's voice chants from the fog.
Gale.
It's magic that produces strong winds. The voice has a slight inhuman quality to it, but it sounds far too clear to be the voice of an undead. A small tornado disturbs the fog, chipping at the ground as it approaches. Rather than me, it seems it's aimed at Tolman-Kaka behind me. Its destructive power is greater than expected. As I thought, it's not a low-rank undead.
Yeah.
Grodel screams. If he were by himself, I expect he could dodge, but it seems it would be difficult while he's supporting Tolman-Kaka. I suppose there's no helping it. Just this once, I'll use magic. Bracing my legs, I root myself in place. I draw my sword and raise it towards the tornado. Resist. The tornado loses its strength and scatters in each direction. Resist is high-rank magic which cancels out magic that it touches. Its success is highly dependent on the user's and the opponent's abilities. The magic power consumed is a little high, but the stomach cannot replace the spine. 1. I see through a gap in the fog from the path of the tornado. The figure of the undead is visible at the end. Aside from the large claws and the sinister arm, what I see looks like nothing other than a normal young girl. 1. But it cannot possibly be a normal human being. A normal human could not transform their body like that. It must be an undead of the Reviana line, and for it to mimic a human appearance so well, it must be a lesser lich class at that. But a lesser lich isn't something that simply appears. Research into lichdom is prohibited, but has been the target of study by countless powerful individuals and mages throughout history in the hope of achieving immortality. Most commit a mistake, becoming undead that do no more than wriggle on instinct. Even in my country of Ardesia, there is the famous case of the alchemist Belmarin, who, believing a more human-like appearance could be achieved with enough evolutions, spent 50 years transforming his lover into a terrifying monstrosity. Resurrection magic isn't something so easy to control. Probably, the initial casting of magic was flawed somehow. This took place over 100 years ago, but it is said to have been quite the problem for the kingdom at the time. But what's incomprehensible is that it doesn't seem to be illusion magic. I'm not feeling the slightest bit of discomfort characteristic to that magic. Its human-like appearance, as well as its intelligence and magic power. It's definitely not something a primitive tribe could produce. But there are a few monsters known to the world that could make such a thing. The undead king that possess a plethora of skulls, the Skull Lord. Known as the guardian of the underworld, the great demon Serial. And the two-headed dragon that governs life and death, the Ouroboros. No way, that dragon. All are legend-class monsters. If by any chance that dragon is an Ouroboros, that would explain the strange feeling I had in that village. According to legend, it can freely wield life and death, so rather than just this village, it would be easy for it to be worshipped anywhere in the world. If I am to later fight such a monster, I must absolutely not use any more magic, but It would be best to assume breaking through here won't be easy. I am pained by my inability to pin down the position of the spider that must be out there. Surprise attacks are quite likely in this dense fog. But were I try to escape the fog, they would pursue Tolmankaka in the meantime. The battlefield is highly disadvantageous, as is my inability to use magic. And I don't even have many subordinates. But I've survived crises like this before countless times. Be careful of hidden monsters and surround the undead. But don't be too timid. If you let a chance slip by, you'll only create a careless gap.
Yes. Azale asama?
Understood. I hear Hans and Jade's voices. I don't have high expectations for the two. Their field of view is limited and they just watched their comrade die. I doubt they'll be able to display their usual strength under the circumstances. But if they can just expose the positions of hidden ambushes and distract the undead momentarily, that would be plenty. If I were to use resist, I could aim for a complete win, but at the moment, Hans and Jade must substitute for it. I can only hope they'll be even half as effective. Holding my sword ready, I watch as the undead is once again concealed by the dense fog. As an undead, if I can crush its head and chest, it should be defeated safely. I'll close the distance, then end it in an instant. An idiom meaning sacrifices must be made in order to avoid imminent pain. 308 Arrow versus Azalea 2 side Azalea. Hans and Jade split up, circling round either side of the small figure. I hold my sword ready and face the figure. Most likely, this fog hides spider thread as well as spider monsters. By having Hans and Jade to go first, I hope to expose any ambushes and distract the undead. In the opening they create, I'll take down the main body in one strike. Undead tend to have a high vitality, but I have no intention of letting any chance to bring it down slip by. The small figure hardly moves at all. I'd thought it'd use more magic while it still has the advantage of distance, but I expect it's out of magic power. I don't want to be overly optimistic, but maintaining a fog of this scale must take a considerable amount of magic power. Its intention might be to limit visibility in order to force a close combat fight. I hear the sound of rustling coming from near Hans' feet.
It's here.
Hans stops walking and swings his sword. 3 shadows crawl across the ground to surround him. They're spiders, most likely. Perhaps having been caught on their thread, Hans' movements become slow. Damn it! Damn it! Asale asama, asale asama. The ambush was prepared over there, it seems. Activating the ambush so soon was a mistake. The undead might have some intelligence, but then monsters are never able to handle the finer details of traps. Through a calm approach, the effectiveness of their traps can be drastically reduced. With this, the protection around the main body is weakened somewhat. Aura! Jade's sword swing is blocked by the undead's large arm. I immediately dash forwards at full speed. I can cover this degree of distance in an instant. The whole reason I had them to go first and didn't move myself was so that I could catch the undead by surprise like this. I successfully shortened the distance, entering just outside sword range. While defending against Jade's sword with one hand, it turns only its head to look at me. Because of the fog, I can't see its facial expression, but I'm sure it's staring at me in surprise, not having expected my speed. From behind me to the side, I see a spider spitting thread towards me. Annoying. I hit the ground behind me with my sword, then scrape across the ground in a circular motion. The spray of earth flies into the eyes of the spider. As I reach out with my sword, the undead pushes Jade aside and turns to shield itself with its thick earthen arm. My swing cuts through the arm. Pieces of it fly through the air as it breaks apart. My sword then smashes into its defenseless chest. It probably meant to block my sword the same way it did Jade's. Aya! The undead groans as it retreats. But it's too slow. If its speciality is magic, then it should have used it before I closed the distance. I step forwards in pursuit to match its retreat. Of course, I have no intention of falling back after a single hit. I mean to keep hitting until it's down. With its large arm destroyed at the start, I make 3 thrusts at its completely unguarded abdomen, leg, and chest. Its body is chipped away, and the earth that it's composed of dances through the air. My 4th thrust stabs into its neck and lops off its head. The headless undead collapses on the spot. The head falls to the ground near me. The nearby fog seems to become thinner. As the undead producing the fog loses its strength, its potency is falling.
Phew. It's over, then?
But I can't be too optimistic. If there are other undead like this, they'll be a major obstacle. If the disorder caused by the fog isn't handled properly, an entire battalion could easily be destroyed. I can only hope more undead aren't laying in wait to ambush Tolmankaka. As expected of Azalea-sama. You destroyed such a thick earth arm so easily. Hans and Jade are both safe, it seems. I look down at the fallen undead's head. It has the expressionless, hollow look characteristic of undead. When I saw it from a distance before, I thought it looked not more similar to a human, but now that I get a closer look I see that its skin is rough, its appearance similar to makeup applied to earth. So rather than a human, it appears much more similar to a golem. It has the shape of a little girl, so it's unbearable creepy. When I saw it from a distance before, I thought its features were more human-like though. I suppose the visibility was bad. I was simply mistaken. As I say that, I feel a sense of discongruity. There's something I've overlooked. It's not the same. This isn't the same as the undead I saw at the start. The collapsed undead's torso suddenly bursts open and a thin thread shoots out. GUH! As it's a surprise shot at point-blank range, I'm unable to dodge and instead cut it with my sword. With my attention is distracted by the thread, I fail to react as the ground at my feet deforms into the shape of an arm and grabs my ankle. A second arm appears and reinforces the restraint. Azalea-sama. Jade hurries over. I see a spider burst out of the undead's body and swiftly run away.
Quickly get away. It's a trap.
As I shout, the ground splits open a short distance away and a young girl appears. She looks different from the lump of earth I saw earlier, with fair porcelain-like skin. As I thought, it switched places with a substitute under the cover of the fog. It looks like the main body used clay to hide under the ground. Did it make one arm larger to distract from the smaller differences? The undead girl has a spider on its arm. It's a pitch-black spider with a white face. A light shines on the arm.
It's mana drain?
I was wondering why its magic power wasn't running out. It has a spider monster with high magic power nearby so it can take from it with mana drain whenever it wants. Now that its magic power is replenished, an attack is clearly coming.
Gale.
A tornado bursts forth, drawing a line in the ground as it heads straight towards me. It's far more powerful than the previous tornado. This is meant to be the decider, it seems. I put strength into my legs to yank them free of the earthen arms. I avoid the newly appearing small arms and smash them with my sword. I can't dodge in time. And near me are Jade, who rushed over to help, and Hans, who's still caught in the spider thread. I've no choice but to use resist again. As I raise my sword towards the oncoming tornado, the pale dragon I saw a short while ago appears in my mind. After I get through this, I still have to defeat that dragon. I can't use magic. If that's an Ouroboros, then it should be tough. If I don't survive this, then I also can't fight that dragon, but in the first place, if I'm so weak that I'm forced to use magic in a place like this, I won't have the slightest chance at killing it. Ugo. I lower my sword. Azalea-sama.
Why?
Hans skjuts reproachfully. I stab my lowered sword into the ground and brace my body with my head pointed downwards. The tornado shreds my back. I put strength into my arms and legs to resist the winds that try to send me flying. 309 Arrow versus Azalea 3 side Azalea. The gale force winds pass through me, shredding my back as they do. I hear the screams of Hans and Jade from behind me. A moment later, I hear a thud as they're slammed against the ground a short distance away. I don't know if either of them are still alive, but I suppose I can no longer expect their assistance in this fight. Thanks to the wind magic, the fog has cleared significantly. It was already thin from the undead faking her death and focusing on attack magic. The visibility of the area is now sufficient. Even though it has been supplying itself with magic from another monster, she should be running low by now. There's the magic power spent on maintaining the fog over such a large area, as well as preparing the substitute and that wind attack magic. It's probably safe to assume she can no longer use any powerful skills. As I raise my head and open my eyes, I see in front of me a single large spider. An Arini? Me relie à des rangs monstères. But if it can use its thread tactically, it won't be a small matter. I may be holding back for the sake fighting the Ouroboros later, but I am disgraced to have fallen for the trick of a young girl. Were Tolmankaka watching, he would surely be disappointed in me. As the Arini spits thread, I hear a similar sound from nearby. It seems I'm surrounded. I see. Did they plan on following up after I was sent flying? Magnificent. While thoroughly avoiding close combat, I was into a trap. Then the moment I showed an opening, they attacked. More than planning it, the execution such a plan must be difficult. It's not easy to maintain a medium-distance fight without someone to take the role of a tank. She must be under tremendous pressure. A single mistake is enough for her to fall victim to my sword, so it's impressive how well she's pulled it off. To manage without knowing hardly anything about my abilities takes considerable courage. Though from their perspective, that might be fortunate. Had they known I was a mage, they might never have tried such a plan. To descend into undeath and yet stake your existence on protecting your home. Such an attitude is worthy of honest praise. Opening my eyes wide, I numb my mind to the pain and put strength into my arms to pull my sword out of the ground. But your choice of opponent was unfortunate. My wounds from the wind magic are quite deep. But considering that Hans and Jade were thrown high into the air then slammed into the ground, they are shallow by comparison. From the start, I have been confident in my superior physical ability. I can still move. I'm no longer in peak condition, but it's not enough to stop me from fighting. I suspect that they think that I've been sufficiently weakened and are coming in close to finish me off, but that's a terrible miscalculation on their part. Upon hearing the sound of spitting from each direction, I cut each of the threads with my sword. The undead thrusts at me from behind as through to follow up on the thread. She raises her large, reinforced high. Her plan was probably to kill me after I was rendered defenseless by the thread. I strike her enlarged arm with the flat of my blade, crushing it along with a portion of her body. Her balance collapsed, the undead lands haphazardly on the ground. As I swing my sword to follow up, the undead raises her hand towards me.
Clay wall, she shouts.
A wall of earth erupts between us.
Huh.
I stretch my arm straight forwards and pierce the wall with the tip of my blade. I feel resistance on the other side. The wall collapses, exposing the figure of the undead with her abdomen impaled by my sword. Cracks start to appear in her skin as it changes in quality from the supple skin of a young girl to what looks more like dried earth. It's not a fake this time. I never let her have the opportunity to switch out. As her vitality and magic power diminishes, her ability to maintain her body fades. I won't forget you. It wouldn't have been strange had I lost this battle. I knew I didn't have any guarantee of victory, but I never would have imagined I'd be driven into a corner to such an extent. Now I will pull out my sword and cut her in two. With that as my plan, I put strength into my arm, but the sword doesn't come out. Shifting my attention to it, I notice the earth that I scattered when I pierced her abdomen is now clinging to my sword. After sticking it to the sword, it seems she has strengthened the earth with magic power. Nah. I'd never considered she'd be able to make such a move right after being run through. If only there hadn't been a wall, I could have immediately extracted my sword and swung a second time. It wasn't as though I was aiming for the undead, so rather I'm sure this was the result of her tenacity. With her normal-size arm, she grips the blade of my sword. As her hand touches it, it loses its fleshiness and hardens around the sword. Then her other, large arm swings down towards me. I try to let go of the sword and step back, but I'm regrettably too close. As things are, I can't evade. Combined with the damage I've already sustained, if I were to receive the hit directly, it would lead to my death, because, low rank they may be, I'm surrounded by monsters. Defeating the undead would be a simple matter, but I would have to leave myself open to attack her. If I did, it's certain the spiders would swarm me before I had a chance to regain my stance. If I were to fall here, Tolmankaka would lose the majority of the starved hunters for nothing and would be forced to flee the forest with only a few subordinates by his side. If that were to happen, the path for him to take the throne would be forever sealed. I can't die here. I'm reluctant to use magic, but I no longer have a choice. In the end, I'm forced to use it. I stretch my left hand towards the undead. At this distance, any magic I fire would blow off her head, even if it's not flare. After that, I can take my time dealing with the spiders. The magic I use is a fire sphere. The problem with using magic here is that the number, power, and timing of the dragaflares that I can use in the coming battle with the Ouroboros will be reduced. But there's no other way. I must absolutely avoid dying. Fire sphere. I cut off my chant partway through. At the edge of my vision, I see a figure wearing the uniform of the starved hunters. The reinforcements I requested have made it in time. They must have been closer than I thought. And no matter how close they were, there's only one person who could have arrived in such a short time. The first unit was acting alongside Tolmankaka. As a result, Nell, who had earned his displeasure, was instead deployed to a different unit and placed on standby. From the start, the annihilation of the Lithovar tribe was an unsuitable task for him. That was why I wanted him to get first-hand experience to become used to such things, but Tolman Kakak chose to prioritize preventing him from developing any worse habits. As a result, Nell was fortunately waiting nearby. However, he won't be in time for this blow. I'll have to endure through my own power. I can't dodge. Carelessly trying to attack back would only cause me to lose my life. My left arm still extended, I thrust out my shoulder. The undead's huge arm strikes it. My outstretched arm collides with her huge arm. Long sharp claws tear through my clothes and skin. Dragged down by the force of the blow, I fall to my knees. Staggering, the undead slouches her shoulders. It seems she's also reached her limit. The surrounding spiders jump towards me all at once. I managed to survive the attack. Had it been aimed at my body, I would have sustained more serious damage. In that sense, this was a gamble. But now, it's my victory. Nell arrives, leaping in and spins to sweep the spiders away with his sheathed sword, then uses that momentum to launch a kick towards the undead. Unbalanced by her arm, the undead tumbles through the air and falls to the ground. Oh. Her deep crimson eyes, characteristic of undead, glare at me in frustration.
Azalea-sama. Are you okay? Ah, I'm safe thanks to you.
Well done, Nell. Nell's advantage. That is his overwhelming speed. In a sword contest, I would be no match for him. Among the clan of Felis Huma, Nell is known as God's Foot. Why your arm? With wounds that deep, healing magic might not be enough to fully recover. It's no problem. I'm a magic user. It's unlikely that my sword would ever be able to pierce that dragon's hide. My attack ability and speed are far too insufficient. If it won't help me in this critical juncture, I don't need my arm. More importantly, that undead. Glancing towards her, I see spiders scuttering over to carry her away. The spiders who can't get close enough to retrieve her are withdrawing too.
Che.
Nell after them.
It should be easy to finish them off now.
But those wounds. It's a race against time. We need to get you to the 4th Battalion right away and get them treated. And if you were hit by an undead, you might have received some sort of curse. The others should get here soon, but if it's me, I can take you there faster.
Certainly.
As long as there's a risk being cursed, I need to move cautiously. There are many in the 4th Battalion who excel at white magic. To be safe, it would be best to have them take a look at me as soon as possible. And seeing as Nell just saw the spiders run away with a child, he might be feeling reluctant to give chase. Since the recovery ability of undead tends to be high, that young undead girl might challenge me again, but I already have a grasp of most of her abilities. As long as I know what she's capable of, I won't fall for such tricks again. As long as I'm cautious, it won't go as badly. The threat she poses is trifling compared to the Ouroboros. I should retreat here. More importantly, I'm concerned with how to raise Nell's motivation. He looks towards the twisted bodies of Hans and Jade, who were sent flying from the wind magic, and Wayne, whose head was crushed, and closes his eyes.
Earlier.
Were you retreating?
That's right.
The attack on the Lithivars has come to a stop. The battalions that were left behind are more or less destroyed. There was an unexpected development.
I see.
A complicated expression appears on his face. From the start, he was opposed to the slaughter of the Lithivars. In that sense, he might be feeling relief to some degree. But at the same time, the slaughter was only stopped as a result of the deaths of a great many members of the starved hunters. While he's in front of me, he would never allow the relief show on his face. But we can't leave yet. The honor of Tolman Kaka and his path to the throne are hanging in the balance. But rest assured, Nell. I won't ask you to kill any of the natives. 310, Battalion Commander, Big Lump Allen.
Me arm has.
The huge man is flung through the air. One of his arms detaches from his shoulder and rolls across the ground before him. After bouncing once, he crashes through the wall of a house. I'm not getting any experience points, so he must still be alive. I guess I wasn't precise enough. Alanagrus. Species, Giant Huma. Condition, Bleeding Major. LV, 41/60. HP, 28/301.
MEPE, 3169.
His endurance is high. But then had I hit him directly, one blow would still have been enough.
Emmy arm. Emmy.
The huge man crawls out of the crumbling house. Then the thick-legged horse he was riding flies towards him. Uhu.
Buska, don't come, Buska.
With a final choked scream, he's crushed under his horse and stops moving. 246 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 246 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 90 to 91. God's voice informs me of my level up. I clean up the nearby cavalry as I approach him, then flick his detached arm with my claw.
Commander Allen has been killed.
That Allen Sama has so lightly.
This is impossible. We can't fight that. Sorry, I don't want to die for nothing.
The remaining cavalry scatter upon losing their leader. It doesn't look like any are willing to stay. Next up, I don't need to chase after them, I think. Following such a thorough defeat, I don't expect they'll ever want to try again. I'd rather not chase and kill each of them in turn. My eyes are caught by the blood sticking to my claws. I get the feeling I've grown used to killing people. I know I can't afford to immerse myself in my emotions, but I still have to reflect on it a bit.
Yuyo, Yuin.
I hear groaning from nearby. Looking towards the source, I see a Lithovar warrior leaning against a building and covered in blood. I run towards him and signal my partner with my eyes.
Ga.
She cries, and the Lithovar warrior is bathed in warm light. His wound quickly closes and his labored breathing settles down. He opens his eyes a moment later. The village was hit directly. The damage is incomparable to everything before. I'm just grateful that I had to use surprisingly little MP in the battles, so I still have plenty to heal with. I look in the direction that the man who Arrow chased after, who seemed to be their leader, fled.
Sorry, Arrow.
It doesn't look like I can follow you yet.
Don't die on me, Arrow.
I run around the village, healing the Lithivars who have fatal wounds. I feel bad for them, but I'm putting off healing those with wounds that aren't too serious. The MP cost of healing dozens of people is a bit dicey, even for me. Once everything's calmed down, I can focus entirely on high rest. I wonder if it's okay to assume this battle's over already. I've killed or scared away quite a lot of cavalry. With the state that their main force that attacked the village is in, it should be safe now. It's hard to imagine they could still have enough troops that can fight left. Without being sure, I can't feel relieved, but if their objective was the annihilation of the Lithivars, it wouldn't be strange for them to have given up. Once I'm finished healing the warriors, Bella of the Miko bloodline rushes over to me. She chants hurriedly, raises her staff and closes her eyes.
Dragon God Sama.
Would you mind coming over here? I was treating a soldier in a shelter, but
his pulse keeps getting weaker.
A shelter? The anti-abyss basements. I have Bella lead me through the village. She enters a half-destroyed building. I guess there's a shelter below. I can't go in, so I wait outside for a little while, then a man on a cloth covered is carried out. He's half-naked, and his upper body is smeared with a green liquid. Blood-soaked bandages cover wounds on his abdomen and shoulders. The strange liquid is probably a Lithovar salve.
Ga.
My partner chants high rest, and his wounds rapidly close. A pink tinge returns to his pallid face.
He should be okay now.
Having watched, Lithivars pop out of hiding places all around.
Dragon God Sama has driven them back. We've been saved yet again.
Among the clamoring Lithivars, I spot a familiar face. It's man who tried to free me from the Cave of Sacrifices, Tadark. Did you come over here too, Asen? He's sitting with his back against the building with the shelter entrance, his head hanging down. Even though the village has escaped the crisis, his expression isn't cheerful at all. At first I think he's injured, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Don't screw with me.
How dare you come back after what you've done?
From inside the house, I hear a woman screaming. Startled, I jerk back. Please calm down, Aino-san. They came here to save us, you know? He was probably worried about you. Then he shouldn't have left in the first place. He threw away everything to leave, not giving the slightest care for my feelings.
Aino-san?
I'm sure I heard that name before.
Her name is Aino.
Aino had a daughter, but she was killed by the Manticore. Arrow's mother, huh? I was told that she'd been a bit unstable ever since Arrow was sacrificed to the Manticore. She might not be too happy about the anti-dragon god people returning so easily. We decided to stay quiet about the matter of the dragon god and the Miko I used to persuade the anti-dragon god village so as not to cause confusion in this village. It's still not the time to tell them. But the result is that it looks like the anti-dragon gods left the village without thinking, then came back without thinking. Judging from what she said, someone close to her left to join the anti-dragon god village. For that to have happened while she was grieving the loss of her child, it's not strange for her to feel like it's a betrayal. I guess I can't do anything but leave her alone for now. As I'm thinking that, Tatark quietly gets to his feet and trudges away. See, could Tatark be Ano's friend? No, her husband? To be sure, apparently he only went to the anti-dragon god village recently. The timing is a perfect fit for his child being sacrificed to the dragon god. The reason he tried to save me could easily be because he was depressed about being assigned to watch the Cave of Sacrifices even after immigrating, or because the children being sacrificed reminded him of Arrow. Arrow also had a strange reaction when I headed towards the anti-dragon god village. She might have known that her father would go there after she died. Or did Tatark try and fail to take Arrow with him to the anti-dragon god village? Perhaps because Ano objected, he ended up going by himself. I don't know enough to be certain, but I can guess their circumstances. The sound of Ano's crying fills my ears as I watch Tatark's receding back in astonishment. And I've put together information about the 7 starved hunters commanders. Sword Lord Tolman preparing to escape. 1st Battalion Commander, Azalea the Blood Dragon, injured. 2nd Battalion Commander, Grodel of Deadly Poison, preparing to escape. 3rd Battalion Commander, Big Lump Allen, killed in action. 4th Battalion Commander, Norwell the Angel of the Battlefield, standing by. 5th Battalion Commander, Ernesis the Witch Who Invites Death, killed in action. 6th Battalion Commander, Lightning Wielder Lepar, fled without permission. 7th Battalion Commander, One-Eyed Hannibal, killed in action. 311 Spider Gods. Bella leads me between the anti-abyss shelters where I heal the injured. The next closest is in the medical building. We'll take a right at the next corner, then it's the big building opposite. As I'm receiving directions from Bella, another Lithovar woman comes running from behind. She's short of breath and tears are trickling from her eyes. It's shallow, but there's a mark where a sword cut her arm and her clothes are covered with mud. While I'm wondering what's happened, she flops to the floor, then prostrates herself towards me.
Bella-sama.
Dragon God-sama. Would you please consider coming this way first? Please calm down. What has happened? The truth is our hiding place was broken into. They left shortly after in fear of Dragon God-sama, but the children, they took the children. After saying that, the woman breaks down sobbing. Those guys, they're going as far as to abduct people. In any case, since they broke in directly, the damage there should be worse than anywhere else. It'd be best to go there first. If we don't get there soon enough, it could be too late. We change our course and follow the woman. Other Lithivars are tasked with bringing out the wounded when we arrive. The rate I'm burning through my MP is unexpectedly fast, but I don't need a lot for battle. The amount restored on the move should be enough for the occasional self-heal or attack magic. While my partner is focusing on healing, Bella asks what happened from someone inside. Apparently 10 children were abducted. It seems there's no longer any fighting around the village, so I was wondering if they'd been fully driven away, but it seems they made a complete mess of things on their way out. I'd like to hope this is just their final struggles. Why did they take the children? Did they say anything? How likely is it they were killed right away? If I remember correctly, after slashing someone near me at the start, one of them said you know about the glittering beast, right? Gel glittering beast? No way, is why they came into this forest and poisoned the village to try and massacre them? That matches the information I was able to get from the prisoners. Those people. They might plan on provoking the feared gods. Bella says, wiping the sweat from her forehead. Her voice trembles with fear. Feared gods. The forest children. I've heard about them. Maybe they have some relationship with that glittering beast. But still, when she speaks of the feared gods, Bella looks quite scared. Those guys, were they that dangerous? I look at Bella to request an explanation. She activates telepathy with a chant and fumbled hand motions, then explains. It is said that a long time ago, our Lithovar ancestors incurred the wrath of the feared gods, and half of the village was buried. Children are taught of this from a very young age, so such a tragedy never repeats itself. I'm worried for the safety of those children, but If they hear about them from the children and purposefully provoke the feared gods, I don't know what will come of this forest. The forest children would destroy the forest? Those guys, were they not just tottering monsters that suck magic power from trees? A moment later, I hear a scream from the edge of the village. Monster! Monsters are attacking. Everyone who can fight, grab your weapons and come. It looks they've already attacked some people. Monsters with this timing. Are they abyss survivors? No. One of their mages summoned a wyvern. It wouldn't be strange if they'd set other monsters on us. The monsters are going away already?
Kale?
It's the abducted children. The children that were taken are back.
What does this mean?
I rush towards the voice and see injured children being nursed by lithivars. And a slight distance away, the spiders are rustling away. It seems they brought them back.
It's the children that were taken. Those spiders must have brought them back.
They're spider gods. Spider gods. I had a feeling it might be the case, but is godhood cheap here? I'm glad that they won't attack the spiders by mistake, but I have slightly complicated feelings too. Bella, who was chasing after me, counts the children while catching her breath. 3, 4, 5. 5 are still missing. It's likely that the remaining 5 are still abducted. Had these children not been brought back, who knows what suffering they'd have gone through. And I'm worried about the feared gods. If the spiders came here, then Arrow's probably also nearby. I want to check that she's well. I'm more or less done healing the village. A few of the injured might still be hiding, but it doesn't look like I can put this off any longer.
Bella-sama.
We've learned of their war potential from the prisoners. Since multiple of their testimonies agree, I think it might be the truth. A lithivar man runs towards us from inside the village.
Is that true? Their scale?
In total they had about 600, but it seems the majority were headed here, so they should be mostly collapsed now. There shouldn't be any more attacks coming, I think. Then with the enemies I dealt with in the village, there should be hardly any left. So if I can recover the children and kill their director who's trying to pick a fight with the feared gods, this conflict will be completely over. In my mind, I see the guy with a bad taste in clothing, Tolman. Now that I hear he's after this glittering beast, I understand the situation. As I thought, he's their boss. I really should have done everything I could to kill him. If only I'd taken him hostage at that time, there wouldn't be this pointless struggling of theirs. It's regretful that his subordinates got in the way. Guh. I groan to draw Bella's attention, then indicate the village and the forest with my head. I understand. We'll treat the remaining injured. After hearing her words, I run in the direction the spiders went. Probably. This battle will be the last. As I run, I see the spiders gathered around a single spot. The petit nightmares with them too. As I slow and approach them, I see a limp arrow. Her skin looks like lifeless earth, almost like before she evolved. Dragon God-sama. She weakly opens her mouth. Her abdomen has traces of being pierced by a sword. Name Arrow. Species Reviana Lolich. Condition Cursed. LV 3165. HP 53/284. Mepe 58299. This is bad. She's falling apart.
Gah.
My partner quickly chants a fake life, wrapping her in black light, and the wound on her body quickly closes. I stretch my tail out in front of her. She touches it and sucks out MP with a mana drain, and the freshness returns to her skin. She staggers to her feet and supports herself against a nearby tree. She must have been in quite the battle. But it looked like she had a surprising amount of MP left. As I think that, the tree that she's leaning against turns to face me. It's the Lesser Treant. Species Lesser Treant. Condition Cursed. LV 11/25. HP 37/75.
Mepe 34/60.
Was the Treant also fighting? But its level hasn't increased. As I think that, my eyes meet Arrow's. I consider the Trent's status again and realize that, though status has dropped by about half, it hasn't got any external wounds. Ah, did she take a little from the Treant? If anything, Arrow's wounds looked worse than her status implied. I couldn't win. That pale-faced swordsman. He took the children. A pale-faced swordsman? That must be the guy who summoned the wyverns and fled with Tolman right at the start. He seems to be quite the active guy. More than Tolman, it might be more important that I neutralize him. As an insurance, it would be best to have Arrow watch the area around the village for any returning soldiers. I'll strike at them directly. But I could do with someone to guide me. As I think that, the Trant bursts forwards. Why you'll guide me? But Trant, your movement speed is a bit slow. It's not like I can run with you on my shoulders. One of the spiders jumps in front of me and runs into the forest. It's telling me to follow, I think. Gwa. I bow my head towards the Trant, then chase after the spider. 312 A certain noble's tyranny 4 sighed Tolman. A short while after Grodel and I convene with the 4th Battalion, Azalea appears, covered in blood and carried on the back of a beast man brat shorter than himself, Nell. The clothes around his shoulder are torn, blood clinging to the scraps. The more I look at him, the more irate I grow. Azalea-sama wasn't hurt by a monster. Somebody healing magic. Nell says as he lays Azalea on the ground. His inarticulate manner of speech further amplifies my irritation. I feel my head shaking in anger. Azalea, explain yourself. Did you not boast that you would subjugate that dragon? To be wounded by a mere undead, what a pitiful state you are in. What happened to the 2 that were with you? Don't tell me you let the undead slip away? As I shout, I draw my sword on impulse and thrust it into the ground. A chime rings out and fragments of broken rock scatter. Then with the blade of my sword exposed, I stride towards him. Nell reacts nervously to my approach, but, following an eye signal from Azalea, rests him on the ground. I cannot apologize enough. I have no excuses for my terrible blunder. Please allow me to make up for it through my actions. And you're asking me to leave the hunting of that dragon to you? At this critical time, in this predicament, how could you? That arm of yours can't swing a sword any longer, can it? As you are now, what could you possibly do? I was counting on you, and yet at the crucial moment, you allow yourself to be injured by a lesser monster. Do you understand? This expedition, you see, is my route to becoming king. The honor of my Torvanit's family is at stake here. I believed you when you said you would defeat the dragon, and yet... What have you done? I abandon my body to my rage and swing my sword down. Nell, who was watching from a distance, braces himself to intervene. Azalea grabs a sword from a nearby soldier with his uninjured right hand and points it towards Nell to fend him off while, at the same time, catching my downward swing with his left hand. There's no way he could catch a sword blade with his bare hand without injury. Though my swing was impulsive and didn't have too much force behind it, the blade still cuts halfway through the palm of his hand and severs his forefinger. Blood pours from his hand. You bastard! What are you thinking? If he hadn't warded Nell off, even injured, Azalea could have easily dodged or defended against my strike. No, he should have been able to dodge my sword while still keeping Nell at bay. He's left-handed. As a swordsman, it is common sense to be always wary of injuries to one's dominant hand. The number of swordsmen who lose their life by protecting their hand at the cost of exposing their vitals is not negligible. I might have swung my sword towards him in a fit of rage, but I never intended for him to lose a finger. I will not use a sword to slay the dragon. It is not an opponent that can be reached by someone of my strength. That is why. These wounds are of no consequence for the coming battle. To show that, you intentionally. Azalea lets his sword fall to the ground, then kneels in place. I will do my utmost to make you king. For that purpose, I have no regrets in devoting my body or my life. I beg of you, order me to slay the dragon. So that the worst does not happen, please escape. I find myself at a loss for words. I never expected him to say he would go so far for me. Then I will leave it to you. Do not fail me. This Azalea will surely present to you both of that dragon's heads, even if it costs my life. My anger finally subsides as I collect myself. It seems I allowed myself to become overwrought. Hey, you lot! Hurry and treat his wounds. I shout to the 4th Battalion, and several white mages hurriedly rush over to him. So tell me, Azalea, how do you intend to slay the dragon? I ask him while he's surrounded by the 4th Battalion's white mages. He raises his head and looks me in my eyes. I will take the hostages to the depths of a cave and lead the dragon inside. If the dragon is insistent on protecting the Lithivars, then it will come to try and rescue them. Do you know of a cave nearby that's enough for it? No, I don't. That is why. It will have to use it. In order to safely retrieve the children, it'll use humanization technique. As a high-ranking dragon, it should have learned it by now. But that skill is also its weakness. If it's attacked by a first-rate swordsman while its physical ability is lowered, it may be possible to deal it a decisive blow. No other method could drain that dragon of its magic power and damage it. At first glance, it doesn't sound like a bad idea, but is it not overly dependent on its actions? In the first place, is it even likely that that dragon would put its life on the line for these barbarians? To overturn our circumstances, there is no other way. After all, our opponent is the evil dragon of legend, the Ouroboros.
Ouroboros!
I shout. Caught up by my reaction, the onlookers are also react with astonishment. The Ouroboros is designated as Danger Rank A. It is said that monsters of that rank can only ever be subjugated through the cooperation of multiple countries and the fielding of thousands of knights. It is not as though I have any specific knowledge of the Ouroboros. But I remember hearing that, according to legend, its toughness is terrifying. Right. That is why, if I can kill it, your ascendance to the throne would be certain. No matter what the other nobles bring, they could never beat you.
There's no way. How can you suggest that?
If it truly is that, do you really think you can kill it? After all, it's the incarnation of immortality. The issue is that of its amount of magic power and vitality. But the legend is an exaggeration. Any living creature can eventually be exhausted. Eternal life is an impossibility. If I can get it to use humanization technique, it should lose a lot of its advantage. Then, inside a cave where it can't easily run away, I will defeat it while its physical ability is reduced. He'll be walking a tightrope. But if he succeeds, there's no doubt it'll make me king. Moreover, the nearby countries will be highly grateful that I prevented a crisis. As a bonus, I'll be able to produce various magic tools from its eyes, meat and bones. My name will be renowned throughout the world. But you? With that arm, you can't wield a sword. I will disappear through magic. Then when the Ouroboros is about to flee from the cave, before it has a chance to release the humanization technique, I will shoot successive flares at maximum power. If its scaleless body is pierced by a flare, even an Ouroboros could not survive unscathed. See, certainly. Then even if it's an Ouroboros, killing it is a possibility. For this strategy, Nell, I'm relying on you. For every second possible, you must delay the Ouroboros' humanized form as long as you can. Your arm should be fast enough while it's humanized. Azalea turns to look at Nell and orders him. Nell gulps and looks down.
That's...
We're going to rely on their guardian deity putting its life on the line to save them, right? The atmosphere chills. We may be about to slay a monster of legend, and yet what is this trifling nonsense he is blurting out? This is why I can't stand this stupid brat. I'm using him because Azalea has a strangely high opinion of him, but I truly can't stand him.
You bastard, what are you saying?
Only because Azalea. Azalea reaches out a hand to stop me. My lord, Nell is a valuable person who can fight against the humanized Ouroboros. Its physical abilities may be reduced while it's humanized, but an ordinary person still wouldn't last 10 seconds. Even I would struggle to survive very long. You have too high an opinion of him.
What good is he if he hesitates at the most important time?
After a moment's pause, Azalea opens his mouth.
Nell.
It's not as though I don't understand your feelings of wanting to back the Lithivars. They have customs, culture, children, and parents. Knowing how sensitive you are, I knew you would struggle and so took you out of my unit and placed you with the reserves.
What is he saying all of a sudden?
I unconsciously glare at him. But he continues to look at Nell without glancing towards me. High-ranking dragons are intelligent. Among them, those classified as evil dragons are the most cunning and cruel of all. They may become attached to humans, but they will never hold feelings of affection for them. Absolutely never. But you said it would come save them. It's not unusual for high-ranking demons or dragons to collect the faithful and be worshipped by humans. You should have seen that just now. That undead child. The Ouroboros has the ability to produce powerful undead. The Lithivars are said to capture nearby people and sacrifice them. The reason why? I can now understand.
That's...
Eventually, that Ouroboros will grow in power, and it is likely that Ardesia as well as the surrounding countries will fall into ruin. Who knows how many will die? Of course, the fearless Humas that you are supporting with your salary from Tolmankaka won't be safe either. Or do you truly want to bet on the possibility that the Ouroboros is unconditionally protecting those far weaker than itself? Do you dislike the use of hostages? That selfishness of yours will only cause greater damage. Besides, liberating the Lithivars from the Ouroboros would be a plus. If they stop hunting for sacrifices, the surrounding countries will also have no reason to interfere with them. Nell, who was so opposed a moment ago, lapses into silence. As expected of Azalea. My subordinate truly is excellent. If you perform well here, you will be amply rewarded and can be freed from the starved hunters. You'll be able to go wherever you please. After saying that, Azalea looks me in the eyes as though to confirm. In the first place, the one who appraised Nell so highly was Azalea. Besides, if I can become king, such petty details matter little. I'll give any amount of money he needs. I understand. I will be the center point and attract the Ouroboros. Well said. I expect much of you, Nell. Azalea says, messily patting Nell's head. After pulling on Azalea's hand, Nell looks up at him timidly. If you can't hold out, leave the cave as quickly as. Azalea breaks off his speech. Nell looks at him anxiously. No, don't leave the cave. Even when you feel you're reaching your limit, don't stop. Okay. It is rare for Azalea to restate himself. Did he realize something? As I wonder, I hear a voice from short distance away. Tolman-sama. We got enough information out of the brats. The carbuncle is as good as in our hands. I was thinking we should torture them to death to raise morale, but how about it? It's Grodel. Azalea moves in front of him. Unfortunately, I will need them as hostages. You should hurry up and retreat with Tolmankaka to safety. Huh? But I just learned information about the carbuncle. Are you telling me to set that aside? What, are you that scared of the dragon? Azalea seizes Grodel by the base of his throat, digging his nails into his neck. Grodel falls to the ground and curls up. Why you? I don't trust you, but... There is no one more suitable at the moment. But I'll know if you try anything. Regardless of whether or not you succeed, I'll kill you for sure. If you understand, then hurry up and get ready to leave. This bastard, he's making fun of me. With one eye open, Grodel stoops low and draws a knife that was concealed in his sleeve and approaches Azalea. Azalea chops his arm with his hand, then elbows him in the face. But... He follows up with a punch to the face. Grodel's front tooth breaks and he bends down. Azalea grips his head and raises him high. I'll say it again. I don't trust you. Don't do anything unnecessary. Do you understand? After Grodel feebly nods his acknowledgement, Azalea shouts for some white magic users to heal him. Grodel should be quite talented, but Azalea really is exceptional. I never would have thought there would be this much difference between them. But it's unusual for Azalea to be this strict without my orders. He must really regard Grodel's disposition as dangerous. In the end, Grodel obediently follows Azalea's instructions and prepares to leave the forest with myself and the majority of the 4th Battalion. Azalea, be sure to slay the Ouroboros. I will do so. It's a thin rope, but I will walk it. And book publication. Doratama Volume 4 is now published. Correction, 2/17. Even though I wrote that the total number of units was 70, I mistakenly wrote up to 7 battalions. The 7th battalion consists of units 71 through to 80. To correct this, Tolman's approximate number of soldiers is changing from 600 to 650, 80 units. TN, I'm not too sure about the author's maths here. Shouldn't the 7th battalion be units 61 to 70? It was also a mistake for the undead arrow to be shot with high rest. It has been changed to fake life. There was a comment that Trentsan might know rest, but I think I will be able to explain this soon. Sorry for the confusion. 313 The Cave of Hostages. I place the spider on my head and charge into the forest. Every now and again, it taps my head with its leg to tell me the direction. I search around with presence perception as I run, but don't find any human presences. I guess I'm not mistaken in assuming that those cavalry have done a full retreat. They might have realized fighting me would be reckless, so gave up on interfering with the village. But they probably haven't given up on that glittering beast. If I were to leave them alone, then, from what the Lithivars said, they might provoke the forest children and cause a disaster. If I hurry, I might be able to find both their headquarters and Lithivar children they took hostage. I could be able to rescue the children while also putting a stop to their plan. I'll find the survivors and force them all out of the forest. No, for the sake of the future, it might be important to turn some of them into prisoners of war. The way this is going, there's a chance some other group will attack the village in order to hunt the glittering beast or myself. I need to do something to stop that. As I run, I suddenly notice human presences. There's 3 of them. They're on horses, it seems, but they don't appear to be doing anything, just loitering in the forest. They should have no choice but to flee to outside the forest or meet up with other units, so. What are they doing here? I suppose there's no use thinking about it. After bending low to warn the spider, I run straight towards them. Perhaps frightened by my footsteps, they move further away. As I chase them, I feel something's wrong. The presences don't run away in a direction totally opposite of me, but rather move in an arc, eventually running in a direction perpendicular to how they started. And the way they move is as though the 3 of them had arranged it beforehand. Were they sent out on patrol but got scared of being far from the headquarters so loitered nearby? If that's the case, then I can assume the place they're going towards is their headquarters, but I get the feeling it is planned somehow. In the first place, is there any reason for them to be on standby at the moment? If they're leading me somewhere, do they mean to lure me into a trap or destroy the Lithovar village while I'm not there? But from their perspective, they shouldn't have any more reason to target the village. They should know that all they'd achieve by attacking now is earning my anger. If they only see the Lithivars as sources of information about this glittering beast, they shouldn't have any reason to attack any longer. I also think I've already removed most of their key figures and arrows standing guard. If they want to lure me into a trap, then I'll play along. Until I break through head-on, that is. I get close to the presences. I kick off the ground and spread my wings to lengthen my jump, then land next to the presences. The surroundings shake with my landing.
Gua!
One of the enemy cavalrymen is thrown from his horse.
Che.
It really is too fast. I knew it was too much.
As if we could lure in that monster.
The remaining 2 cavalrymen start fleeing in different directions. The horse that the cavalryman fell off also gallops away.
No. No.
The man that's left behind crawls along the ground, desperate to get away from me. I ignore him and lower my chin to the ground.
Gua!
I moan, and after a moment's stillness, the spider taps my forehead. I gently shake my head, and as though giving up, it gets down and runs back the way we came. A little while ago, the spider stopped guiding. It probably doesn't know any more about what's ahead. I've also found some cavalry, so their headquarters shouldn't be too far from here. I feel bad for it, but if it's going to become a fight, an Arini won't be powerful enough. It would only be a burden. That thin man was probably commander class. Arrow chased after him and was pushed to use up all her HP and MP and had wounds all over her body, but to be honest, I'm glad she got away with just that much. If she were to receive a full hit from one of their commanders, it wouldn't be strange for her to lose instantly. There's that much of a status gap. After making sure the spider has left, I continue in the direction they were trying to lead me. Presence perception reacts at once. It's rare for it to react so strongly. If I remember right, when I first met Adofu, I felt a presence this strong too. He had a decoy skill to lure in his enemies. If it's a similar skill this time, then they really are trying to lure me somewhere. Running in the direction that presence perception tells me, I come across a large hill with a cave in its side. 2 bow-wielding soldiers are stationed at the entrance. As they notice me, they shout something into the cave and prepare arrows. Using presence perception? The other presences are a bit hard to read because of the big one inside the cave, but together with the 2 outside, there are 12 people in total. Among them, 5 presences feel particularly weak. That's precisely the number of Lithovar children that have yet to return. It seems likely that they're being held inside. The entrance is narrow, so I don't think I'd fit both in terms of height and width. They've hidden themselves in a strange place. If they didn't have the hostages, I'd like to tear it down from outside. Should I shoot wind slashes towards the entrance? No, it seems the cave goes in deeper than it looks. I don't want to hit the walls and have it all come crumbling down. My remaining MP is Irushia. Species Ouroboros. Condition normal. LV 91/125. HP 2402/2402. MEPE 1612-2410. Great. I've recovered a fair bit. As expected of automatic MP recovery, LV6. With this much, I can maintain humanization technique for nearly an hour. With humanization technique, I can easily slip into the cave. But while humanized, my status will plummet. God's voice show it to me again. Normal skill humanisation technique un point? A human form can be taken. Half of the user's HP is lost upon activation, and the user's attack and defense values are halved for the duration. Furthermore, the user's MP will continuously decrease. Attack and defense are halved. Well, if my speed is untouched, then it's fine, I guess. Plus, even halved, my attack value is 470. If I remember right, one of their commanders, Hannibal, had an attack value of about 300 with his weapon factored in. Even if there's someone a step above him in there, I should be able to deal with them without problem. To start with, I fire off a wind slash towards the two in front of the cave. The moment they see my wings start to move, they crouch down and run into the cave. The blade of wind cuts through empty space and gouges a scar into the ground as it disappears.
Che?
Were they that wary of me? Well, I suppose that's only natural. I could wait for my MP to fully recover, but... No, I should hurry. It wouldn't be strange for them to proceed with the capturing of the glittering beast separately. I also don't know how badly hurt the children are. They might need high rest as soon as possible. I can't afford to take my time here.
Peh.
I open my mouth and spit out the lithovar clothes I've been walking around with. I borrowed them in case humanization technique would be necessary. Are you using humanization? My partner sends her thoughts to me. Sorry, but I'm going to ask you to withdraw. I'll leave you to it, but don't make too many careless mistakes. She cuts off her thoughts and looks behind. What is it? Is something there? Thinking that, I look that back too, and see a lizard, about half the size of a human, noisily running away. Its body is patterned with irregular browns and greens. Forest Lacerda, E-rank monster. A large lizard that crawls through the forest. It hides its presence and exudes a characteristic rotten smell in order to play dead. However, there are many monsters that like to eat decaying meat, so it is not very effective. It has a cowardly nature and rarely chooses to fight monsters equal or stronger than itself. In fights over territory, individuals compete to show their best, play dead. It reminds me of the black lizard somehow. Just a monster. It doesn't look very strong, nor does it have any dangerous skills, so there's no need to be cautious of it. And it's been a while since the last status. There aren't a lot of opportunities to put it in the story. Yay for breaking through 1000 magic. I rush ya. Species Ouroboros. Condition normal. LV 91/125. HP 2402/2402. MEPE 1612-2410. Attack 941. Defense 548. Magic 1039. Speed 670. Rank A. Sacred skills. Human realm LV-. Characteristic skills. Dragon scales, LV7 voice of God, LV5 Grisha language, LV3 flight, LV7 dragon scale powder, LV7 dark attribute, LV- evil dragon, LV- automatic HP recovery, LV8 presence perception, LV5 automatic MP recovery, LV6 double-headed, LV- split spirit, LV- mutual understanding, LV3. Resistance skills. Physical resistance, LV5 fall resistance, LV6 starvation resistance, LV5 poison resistance, LV6 loneliness resistance, LV6 magic resistance, LV4 dark attribute resistance, LV4 fire attribute resistance, LV3 fear resistance, LV3 oxygen deprivation resistance, LV4 paralysis resistance, LV6 illusion resistance, LV3 instant death resistance, LV2 curse resistance, LV2 confusion resistance, LV2 strong light resistance, LV1 normal skills. Roll, LV7 status inspection, LV7 scorching breath, LV5 whistle, LV2 dragon punch, LV3 plague breath, LV6 poison fang, LV7 paralyzing poison claw, LV6 dragon tail, LV2 roar, LV3 heavens drop, LV4 return to ground, LV2 humanization technique, LV8 wind slash, LV7 neck breaker, LV4 high rest, LV7 auto regeneration, LV5 traveling companion, LV- death, LV4 soul appendment fake life, LV4 holy, LV2 Title skills. Son of the Dragon King, LV-Walking Egg, LV-Klutz, LV4 Simple Fool, LV1 Infighter, LV4 Pest Killer, LV8 Liar, LV3 Evasion King, LV2 Path of Evil, LV9 Calamity, LV9 Chicken Runner, LV3 Chef, LV4 Mean King, LV9 Gutsy, LV4 Big Eater Giant Killer, LV3 Pottery Craftsman, LV4 Group Leader, LV1 Laplace Interference Authority, LV2 One Who Knows Eternity, LV-Ant King, LV-Brave Hero, LV7. I also plan on doing another round of answering your questions, so if you have anything to ask, please don't hesitate to write an impression. I plan to answer as much as I can without spoiling anything. 313 The Cave of Hostages. I place the spider on my head and charge into the forest. Every now and again, it taps my head with its leg to tell me the direction. I search around with presence perception as I run, but don't find any human presences. I guess I'm not mistaken in assuming that those cavalry have done a full retreat. They might have realized fighting me would be reckless, so gave up on interfering with the village. But they probably haven't given up on that glittering beast. If I were to leave them alone, then, from what the Lithivars said, they might provoke the forest children and cause a disaster. If I hurry, I might be able to find both their headquarters and Lithivar children they took hostage. I could be able to rescue the children while also putting a stop to their plan. I'll find the survivors and force them all out of the forest. No, for the sake of the future, it might be important to turn some of them into prisoners of war. The way this is going, there's a chance some other group will attack the village in order to hunt the glittering beast or myself. I need to do something to stop that. As I run, I suddenly notice human presences. There's 3 of them. They're on horses, it seems, but they don't appear to be doing anything, just loitering in the forest. They should have no choice but to flee to outside the forest or meet up with other units, so. What are they doing here? I suppose there's no use thinking about it. After bending low to warn the spider, I run straight towards them. Perhaps frightened by my footsteps, they move further away. As I chase them, I feel something's wrong. The presences don't run away in a direction totally opposite of me, but rather move in an arc, eventually running in a direction perpendicular to how they started. And the way they move is as though the 3 of them had arranged it beforehand. Were they sent out on patrol but got scared of being far from the headquarters so loitered nearby? If that's the case, then I can assume the place they're going towards is their headquarters, but I get the feeling it is planned somehow. In the first place, is there any reason for them to be on standby at the moment? If they're leading me somewhere, do they mean to lure me into a trap or destroy the Lithivar village while I'm not there? But from their perspective, they shouldn't have any more reason to target the village. They should know that all they'd achieve by attacking now is earning my anger. If they only see the Lithivars as sources of information about this glittering beast, they shouldn't have any reason to attack any longer. I also think I've already removed most of their key figures and arrows standing guard. If they want to lure me into a trap, then I'll play along. Until I break through head-on, that is. I get close to the presences. I kick off the ground and spread my wings to lengthen my jump, then land next to the presences. The surroundings shake with my landing.
Gua!
One of the enemy cavalrymen is thrown from his horse. Che! It really is too fast. I knew it was too much. As if we could lure in that monster. The remaining 2 cavalrymen start fleeing in different directions. The horse that the cavalryman fell off also gallops away.
No. No.
The man that's left behind crawls along the ground, desperate to get away from me. I ignore him and lower my chin to the ground.
Gua!
I moan, and after a moment's stillness, the spider taps my forehead. I gently shake my head, and as though giving up, it gets down and runs back the way we came. A little while ago, the spider stopped guiding. It probably doesn't know any more about what's ahead. I've also found some cavalry, so their headquarters shouldn't be too far from here. I feel bad for it, but if it's going to become a fight, an Arini won't be powerful enough. It would only be a burden. That thin man was probably commander class. Arrow chased after him and was pushed to use up all her HP and MP and had wounds all over her body, but to be honest, I'm glad she got away with just that much. If she were to receive a full hit from one of their commanders, it wouldn't be strange for her to lose instantly. There's that much of a status gap. After making sure the spider has left, I continue in the direction they were trying to lead me. Presence perception reacts at once. It's rare for it to react so strongly. If I remember right, when I first met Adofu, I felt a presence this strong too. He had a decoy skill to lure in his enemies. If it's a similar skill this time, then they really are trying to lure me somewhere. Running in the direction that presence perception tells me, I come across a large hill with a cave in its side. 2 bow-wielding soldiers are stationed at the entrance. As they notice me, they shout something into the cave and prepare arrows. Using presence perception? The other presences are a bit hard to read because of the big one inside the cave, but together with the 2 outside, there are 12 people in total. Among them, 5 presences feel particularly weak. That's precisely the number of Lithovar children that have yet to return. It seems likely that they're being held inside. The entrance is narrow, so I don't think I'd fit both in terms of height and width. They've hidden themselves in a strange place. If they didn't have the hostages, I'd like to tear it down from outside. Should I shoot wind slashes towards the entrance? No, it seems the cave goes in deeper than it looks. I don't want to hit the walls and have it all come crumbling down. My remaining MP is Irushia. Species Ouroboros. Condition normal. LV 91/125. HP 2402/2402. MEPE 1612-2410. Great. I've recovered a fair bit. As expected of automatic MP recovery, LV6. With this much, I can maintain humanization technique for nearly an hour. With humanization technique, I can easily slip into the cave. But while humanized, my status will plummet. God's voice, show it to me again. Normal skill humanisation technique 1 point? A human form can be taken. Half of the user's HP is lost upon activation, and the user's attack and defense values are halved for the duration. Furthermore, the user's MP will continuously decrease. Attack and defense are halved. Well, if my speed is untouched, then it's fine, I guess. Plus, even halved, my attack value is 470. If I remember right, one of their commanders, Hannibal, had an attack value of about 300 with his weapon factored in. Even if there's someone a step above him in there, I should be able to deal with them without problem. To start with, I fire off a wind slash towards the 2 in front of the cave. The moment they see my wings start to move, they crouch down and run into the cave. The blade of wind cuts through empty space and gouges a scar into the ground as it disappears. Che? Were they that wary of me? Well, I suppose that's only natural. I could wait for my MP to fully recover, but no, I should hurry. It wouldn't be strange for them to proceed with the capturing of the glittering beast separately. I also don't know how badly hurt the children are. They might need high rest as soon as possible. I can't afford to take my time here. Peh. I open my mouth and spit out the Lithovar clothes I've been walking around with. I borrowed them in case humanization technique would be necessary. Are you using humanization? My partner sends her thoughts to me. Sorry, but I'm going to ask you to withdraw. I'll leave you to it, but don't make too many careless mistakes. She cuts off her thoughts and looks behind. What is it? Is something there? Thinking that, I look that back too, and see a lizard, about half the size of a human, noisily running away. Its body is patterned with irregular browns and greens. Forest Lacerda, E-rank monster. A large lizard that crawls through the forest. It hides its presence and exudes a characteristic rotten smell in order to play dead. However, there are many monsters that like to eat decaying meat, so it is not very effective. It has a cowardly nature and rarely chooses to fight monsters equal or stronger than itself. In fights over territory, individuals compete to show their best, play dead. It reminds me of the black lizard somehow. Just a monster. It doesn't look very strong, nor does it have any dangerous skills, so there's no need to be cautious of it. And it's been a while since the last status. There aren't a lot of opportunities to put it in the story. Yay for breaking through 1000 magic. Irushia. Species Ouroboros. Condition normal. LV 91/125. HP 2402/2402. MEPE 1612-2410. Attack 941. Defense 548. Magic 1039. Speed 670. Rank A. Sacred skills. Human realm LV-. Characteristic skills. Dragon Scales, LV7 Voice of God, LV5 Grisha Language, LV3 Flight, LV7 Dragon Scale Powder, LV7 Dark Attribute, LV-Evil Dragon, LV-Automatic HP Recovery, LV8 Presence Perception, LV5 Automatic MP Recovery, LV6 Double-Headed, LV-Split Spirit, LV-Mutual Understanding, LV3 Resistance Skills. Physical Resistance, LV5 Fall Resistance, LV6 Starvation Resistance, LV5 Poison Resistance, LV6 Loneliness Resistance, LV6 Magic Resistance, LV4 Dark Attribute Resistance, LV4 Fire Attribute Resistance, LV3 Fear Resistance, LV3 Oxygen Deprivation Resistance, LV4 Paralysis Resistance, LV6 Illusion Resistance, LV3 Instant Death Resistance, LV2 Curse Resistance, LV2 Confusion Resistance, LV2 Strong Light Resistance, LV1 Normal Skills. Role, LV7 Status Inspection, LV7 Scorching Breath, LV5 Whistle, LV2 Dragon Punch, LV3 Plague Breath, LV6 Poison Fang, LV7 Paralyzing Poison Claw, LV6 Dragon Tail, LV2 Roar, LV3 Heaven's Drop, LV4 Return to Ground, LV2 Humanization Technique, LV8 Wind Slash, LV7 Neck Breaker, LV4 High Rest, LV7 Auto-Regeneration, LV5 Traveling Companion, LV-Death, LV4 Soul Appendment Fake Life, LV4 Holy, LV2 Title Skills. Son of the Dragon King, LV-Walking Egg, LV-Klutz, LV4 Simple Fool, LV1 Infighter, LV4 Pest Killer, LV8 Liar, LV3 Evasion King, LV2 Path of Evil, LV9 Calamity, LV9 Chicken Runner, LV3 Chef, LV4 Mean King, LV9 Gutsy, LV4 Big Eater Giant Killer, LV3 Pottery Craftsman, LV4 Group Leader, LV1 Laplace Interference Authority, LV2 One Who Knows Eternity, LV-Ant King, LV-Brave Hero, LV7 I also plan on doing another round of answering your questions, so if you have anything to ask, please don't hesitate to write an impression. I plan to answer as much as I can without spoiling anything. 314 Twin Swordsmen, Belmond and Theobald. Y'activate humanisation technique. Burning heat runs through my body as I quickly shrink. I've more or less gotten used to the pain, so it doesn't bother me at all. But I just wish I didn't have to feel so lethargic as half my vitality is taken away. I put on the clothes I spat out earlier and head into the cave. I can't take a lot of time here. I need to quickly neutralize those inside and rescue the hostages. With my physical abilities, it should easily be doable. Running into the cave is fine and all, but there's no light here at all. It's decently long, so the light doesn't reach the depths. I do have presence perception though, so if they want to fight in the darkness, then I'm fine with that. I open my eyes wide and concentrate on the precise positions of the heat sources. By straining my eyes, I can faintly make them out. My eyes are becoming accustomed to the darkness. My attack, defense, and HP are all halved, and there are a bunch of skills I can't use, but that's not enough to stop me. I kick off the ground and swing my arm towards one of the presences.
Something's coming.
Something shoots towards me. I immediately turn my face to the side. An arrow schemes past my cheek, grazing it. If I had my Ouroboros scales, this level of attack would never damage me. My reduced defense is a problem, as is my lack of reach.
Gabua?
I hit the shoulder of the man in front of me. The feeling of his bones crushing is transmitted to me through my fist. He slams into the ground, sending shakes throughout the area. It doesn't look like this cave is very sturdy. It might be best to be careful. 150 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 150 experience points have been acquired. My strength is still plenty. One hit is enough to kill. It was a direct hit, but still. I glance at the crushed man's face and notice something strange. His eyes are shut tight? Did he squeeze his eyes closed from the shock of being hit? You guys do it as planned.
Flash!
I hear a woman's voice from the front, then immediately after, a blinding light fills the area.
They got me?
The bright light pours into my eyes that had acclimatized to the darkness.
GUH.
I stop moving and cover my face with my hands.
There. Firewall.
Flames rise from below, wrapping around me. Still struggling to see, I frantically jump back. 3 arrows pierce my shoulder. Ani, one, I'll leave the other side to you. On it. Heh, looks like this'll be unexpectedly easy. I hear voices from my left and right. It seems they plan on pressing me while I'm still off balance. Their cooperation is too good. It seems their plan was to lure me here and kill me from the start. Which means there's someone who could tell that I'd come to save the hostages and moreover would use humanization technique to enter the cave.
They got me?
Did one of them have a status inspection? No. Even if they didn't see my status, they could know my skills from my species. Up to now the humans have had far too little information, so I'd thought to worry about that.
Got you.
I hold my hand out towards the sword swinging at my side. It's the one that was called Ani.
It's useless. Don't think you can catch my sword with your bare hand.
I pinch the tip of his sword between two fingers, then twist to flick it away. Having lost his weapon, he falls to his knees.
And no way.
Wasn't its strength meant to have fallen to the level of a human? I shift my focus to the other side. A man there is glaring at me as though annoyed. His face is completely identical to the first man. They seem to be actual brothers.
Let's see how you handle this.
The edge of his sword blurs and splits into three. I take a half step back to regain my balance.
This is my barrier edge.
He swings his sword diagonally downwards. The blade triples again, darting towards my head, chest, and legs. I kick off the ground to launch a spinning kick in the opposite direction to his sword swing. My kick, which was launched after his swing, reaches him first. My toes sink into his abdomen.
Go for.
Blood bursts from his open mouth as he flies through the air. He crashes into his stunned older brother. 180 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 180 experience points have been acquired. The older brother tumbles across the ground from the impact, then glares at me from the floor, coughing. Traces of blood are mixed into his coughs. It seems his internal organs got damaged when he slammed into the floor. It doesn't look like he can move much. It should be fine to leave him for now. I suddenly hear the sound of arrows whizzing through the air. The flames that was scattered earlier lit some candles that were set up around the cave, so the visibility is good now. That must have been their plan from the start. But I'm just grateful to be able to use my eyes. I pluck each of the 3 arrows out of the air and crush them, letting the fragments fall to the ground. All right, even if there's a lot of them, I should be able to push through with my superior speed.
Ashi.
Seeing me crush the arrows, the older brother's body trembles. That bastard. Azalea misread it.
What's he mean it's okay for us to defeat it too? How could we possibly deal with this monster?
Okay for them to defeat me too? These guys, was their objective not to kill me?
Firewall.
Before I have a chance to think, a wall of erupts rises around me again. I jump to check the position of the chanter, curling in the air to avoid hitting my head on the ceiling. I spot a woman with loose wavy pink hair, wearing a robe of the same color scheme as the military uniforms. It seems she's in charge of disrupting me with a flash and firewall. She's more troublesome than the arrows. It would be best I prioritize taking her out. It seems the wall of fire was only meant to startle me, as it quickly fades away. For them to use a feint at this time. Someone else is coming with their best attack. I brace myself in the air. Presence perception. There's someone approaching from my blind spot.
Godspeed flash.
The approaching presence suddenly speeds up. They're pretty fast. They're fast enough to be a match for the manticore, which was fastest monster I've seen so far. I manage to twist to the side but can't dodge it completely and I receive a gash along my side. After slashing at me, the shadow rotates in the air to touch the ceiling with its feet and stabs a knife into it to fix itself in place. They have a small build. Now that I take a good look at him, I see he's a young boy. 15 years old at most. He seems to be a fearless Huma, as he has cat-like ears like Nina. I don't want to fight him, is not the sort of naive thing I can afford to be thinking right now.
GUH.
He got me completely. Blue blood flows out of my belly.
This guy?
He's at least a decade younger than the rest of them, yet his status is outrageous. I rush ya. Spaces Ouroboros. Condition, humanized LV-8. LV, 91/124. HP, 1018/2402. MEPE, 2492/2410. Having my HP and defense have makes things difficult. To make matters worse, I don't have the protection of my dragon scales. I knew I was running into some sort of trap, but I wanted to prioritize rescuing the hostages. If I'd known it'd be like this, I should have had my partner who can use magic take over. I didn't want to use magic here because of the cost of humanization technique, and because I knew I still have to go stop those that are trying to meddle with the forest children, but in hindsight I should have been prepared in case. There hadn't been any problems in the battles so far, so I might have been looking down on them a bit. These guys are really strong. I'm glad I didn't leave them for Arrow or the villagers to deal with. I was wondering why they seemed sure that I would come in person, but it's clear now they were confident they could deal with anyone else that came. 1 Ani, elder brother. 315 strength check. I peer around the cave to check each enemy. There had been 7, but I've since taken out one of the archers and one of the twin swordsmen. The other twin swordsman is still alive, but he's not in any state to fight. He doesn't have a weapon. He might still be present, but it should be fine to think of it as there being 4 enemies left. Remaining are the fearless Huma swordsman who cut open my abdomen and one of the archers. There's also the pink-haired mage and as well as a large swordsman standing in front of her to protect her. At the back of the cave, the Lithovar children are bound with rope in a messy line. Trying to bite through the rope covering their mouths, they watch me through tearful eyes. They shouldn't know who I am, but they can tell from the situation that on their side. Even so, anxiety is mixed into their gaze. However, that pale man and Tolman aren't here. Even when they're trying to fight me, is their main force acting separately? Maybe they're meant to buy time while other units go off to mess with the forest children. If so, it's even more important that I break through here. The last time they were provoked, the village collapsed after all. Why's he still so energetic? Weren't that a bit shallow, Nell? Hey, do it properly now. The large man protecting the mage tuts his tongue. He's Baris Baradenda. Species Earth Huma. Condition, power, quick. LV 2745. HP 162/162. Mepe, no. Baris Baradenda. His status seems to be that of a typical sword-wielding human. He doesn't have any technique skills, but his stamina, attack, and speed are all outstanding. In terms of monsters, he's a red ant type. Guys like him are more dangerous than those with half-baked skills, but his status isn't too impressive. He's a bit stronger than their average soldier, but nothing I need to be cautious of. His stamina might be a bit high, but he still won't be able to fight after taking a direct hit. But if he moves in coordination with the others, killing him will take some time. The one to be cautious of is that mage he's protecting. I shift my focus to her. Noel Nogmark. Species Earth Huma. Condition, normal. LV 36/60. HP 176/176. Mepe 142/274. Attack 49/14. Defense 78/55. Magic 277/62. Speed 53. Equipment. Hand, Mithril Longstaff, B. Body, Mithril Breastplate, B. Characteristic skills. Grisha language, LV7 Mage Talent, LV6. Resistance skills. Magic resistance, LV4. Normal skills. High rest, LV1 wide rest, LV4 care, LV3 quick, LV4 wide power, LV5 firewall, LV4 flash, LV3 berserk, LV4 stone spear, LV2. Title skills. White mage, LV6 black mage, LV3 angel of the battlefield, LV- starved hunters battalion commander, LV-. Noel Nogmark. A battalion commander. It looks like she's the one who cast the status-correcting magic on Baris. It seems she's focused on support and healing but has a few ways to attack. If she keeps healing and disrupting, there'll be no end to the fight. I should prioritize her. But the one who could potentially make a decisive attack against me is the one clinging to the ceiling over there, the fearless Huma. His acceleration when he activated his skill was formidable. Nel Nefarios. Species fearless Huma. Condition, power, quick. LV 38/90. HP 192/192. Mepe 65/65. Attack 212/65. Defense 151/55. Magic 82. Speed 398. Equipment, hand, mithril sword, B. Body, mithril breastplate, B. Characteristic skills. Battle instinct, LV-Beast God's protection, LV-Grisha language, LV-4 swordsman talent, LV-8 wild intuition, LV-8 presence perception, LV-7 soft steps, LV-6 night vision, LV-6 kinetic vision, LV-7 resistance skills. Physical resistance, LV-6 cutting resistance, LV-7 paralysis resistance, LV-2 normal skills.
Bite, LV-7, Skratk, LV-6, Catfache, LV-7, Gospid Flash, LV-5, Total Concentration, LV-6, Dragon Felling Tousant Kuts, LV-3
Title skills. Beast Man, LV-Hunter, LV-8 Former Gladiator, LV-Acrobat, LV-8 Sword King, LV-8 Swordsman of the Falcon, LV-Starved Hunters Unit Member, LV- Speed 398? He's absurdly strong. Why does he have such an incredible speed? As expected, my base speed is faster, but his attack reached me thanks to the support of Quick and his skill. He also has a bizarre number of characteristic and title skills related to sword use. It's clear he's used to handling a sword. His status is a bit imbalanced, but he's far more formidable than any of the battalion commanders. It's plain to see that they've sent their best soldiers to fight me. Various high-level commanders and captains have been thrown together. They're stronger than those I've fought so far. I also can't make full use of my humanized body. It doesn't look like I have much margin for error in this battle. How I fight will greatly depend on whether I want to kill the Felis Huma swordsman, Nell, right away, or whether I kill the battalion commander Noel before moving on to the unsupported Nell. Yimsum. Please don't stop your hand. Its reaction speed is ridiculously fast. The moment there's an opening, we're all dead. You might not be able to hit it, but it's important to keep it distracted. Bellman Sand, please escape if you can. We'll draw the Ouroboros towards us.
Nilshaus.
Hearing him, the archer who had been standing astonished hurriedly knocks another arrow. The older brother survivor of the swordsman twins leans against the wall as he stand up, his breathing ragged.
Che?
Sorry, but I'm retreating. I don't plan on dying for nothing. That's not for you to decide. I've already used my magic to strengthen you, so it would be a shame for it to go to waste. Berserk. Noel swings her staff. Light shoots from its tip towards the twin called Belmond. The moment it touches him, his face changes.
Guh.
His hand that had been feebly resting on the wall clenches shut, his nails scraping through earth. Even though several of his bones should have broken when his brother crashed into him, he charges towards me, heedless of his lack of a sword. His inability to think is annoying, but a wall is still far more useful than a coward. Noel remarks, smirking. As I thought, taking out their support first would be best. 316 Battalion Commander, Noel the Angel of the Battlefield.
Guh. Ea.
Unarmed, Bellman rushes towards me. There is no trace of sanity in his eyes. His movements are faster than before. It seems that at the cost inflicting a state of rage, Berserk greatly enhances the target's physical abilities. It's support magic with a drawback. But I don't plan on falling behind someone who's only been strengthened a bit.
Now.
The archer releases arrows aimed at me. Like before, he shoots 3 arrows. Even if they hit, they won't do much damage. The danger they pose as a distraction is greater. I grab Bellman's arm. The instant I touch him, Nell kicks off the wall towards me. He nimbly steps on Bellman's back to jump over me, cutting behind me. I don't have enough hands. There's no helping it. I didn't want to use it since I'm still not used to it and it seems it uses more magic power, but I'll try using partial dragonization. I yank Bellman off his feet and throw him in the direction of the arrows. I then focus my concentration on my tail. Aga. The 3 arrows pierce deep into Bellman's shoulder and abdomen. Unable to react in time to the sudden tossing of someone towards him, the archer is impacted as Bellman crashes into him. My tail enlarges and wraps around my body. I then twist it towards Bell behind me. He avoids the first vertical swing, dodging to the right, then jumps over my sideways sweep. As it misses him, my tail smashes heavily into the floor and wall. Nell uses his jump to create some distance. I'm really not used to this still. I'm treating my body like putty, so there's getting around the difficulty. But I don't plan on playing with these guys any longer than I need to. Partial dragonization is hard to control and its fuel efficiency is bad, but it's not like it's impossible to get the hang of. If I can bring myself closer to dragon form all over, I can regain my scales and stabilize my defense. Besides, my current body is too small and restricts my skills, so I can't get rid of the enemies altogether. If I can make my arms a bit bigger, they should be great as weapons. There's value in trying it out. I stiffen and turn my attention to my entire body. Heat runs throughout me and I feel a melting sensation.
Gugu.
Yuh. Uhu. Bellman rises to his feet covered in blood and breaks into a run towards me. Since I was aiming to use him to stop the arrows, did I fail to damage him enough? Thanks to Berserk, he might have completely lost his sense of pain. I should have put a bit more force into my throw.
Bellman-san, please stop. It's doing something.
Nell asks him to wait and see, but he's in no condition to hear in his Berserk state. Noel laughs scornfully. What an idiot. If you're not going to attack when there's an opening like this, when will you? She raises her staff high and a light appears above her head. I guess she's planning on shooting some attack magic. My body swells larger and larger and my skin hardens. My claws taper off into fiendishly sharp tips. I'm about halfway between human and dragon. I can put out a lot more power now.
Yoo!
I swing to the left to brush away the oncoming Bellman. My claws tear 3 deep lines through his body. Droplets of his flesh and blood dance through the air. 162 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 162 experience points have been acquired. I'm more used to a body like this. It's easier to move with a tail and actually killing them is a lot simpler.
Stone spear?
The spear of stone that Noel summons overhead darts towards me. I grab it out of the air, crushing it, then fling the upper half to finish off the injured triple-shot archer. The fragment sinks silently into his throat and he stops breathing. 174 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 174 experience points have been acquired. Great, I can move effectively. All that remain now are the mage Noel, her guard Baris, and the sword-wielding beast-man. What is that monster?
Azalea never said it could do anything like that.
I instantly move to close the gap to the bewildered Noel.
Baris. A moment is enough, just stop it.
Hearing her order, Baris steps between us. But it's clear he's on the brink of breaking.
How am I meant to stop it?
Baris throws his sword at me and braces his shield with both arms.
Guaga.
I vigorously swing my arm down.
Hi.
He raises his shield towards my arm. My claw split him in two along with his shield. 162 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 162 experience points have been acquired. Now there's just 2 left.
W8.
Nell shouts from behind. I feel his presence drawing closer, but I should be able to kill Noel before he arrives. Well done earning time. Berserk. Noel raises her staff towards me. In exchange for physical enhancement, Berserk inflicts a state of confusion. But it won't work on me.
Gah.
I use my own magic power to interfere and make use of her magic, resisting the deleterious effect. Nah. My magic isn't having the slightest effect. Noel has magic, 277 plus 62, but I have magic, 1039. Support magic of this level is worthless. My magic stat is unchanged even in human form.
Gara. Stop.
I grab her by the throat and slam her into the ground. Her head pops off and her body convulses for a second but soon stops moving. 216 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 216 experience points have been acquired. I let go of her body and it thuds to the floor. Now all that's left is the Beastman sword user. Fighting a child is difficult, so I'd prefer it if he'd run away though. RAH. I use my tail to parry his sword swing, sending him flying with all my strength. He skillfully tumbles as he lands to regain his footing and resumes his sword stance. It doesn't look like he has any intention of falling back. Chapter 317.
Saya.
Nell kicks off the ground to leap towards me. His jump doesn't have much height, but the power behind it is incredible. He's almost skimming across the ground. He is by far the fastest human I've seen, but he's still much slower than me. My ease of movement has been reduced slightly by my messing with the humanization technique, but it's not enough to overturn the difference. His foot snaps off the ground, changing his trajectory to a diagonal approach. He lands, restores his stance as his back leg pivots behind him, then kicks off the wall to leap directly towards me.
Godspeed Flash.
He thrusts his sword out as he suddenly accelerates.
Here it is.
It's the skill he used before. It only lasts for an instant, but it massively increases his speed. But it appears he can only make straight-line attacks with that skill. If that isn't practical for the situation, then it's nothing amazing. With my overwhelmingly greater power, I have plenty of margin for error in countering his attack and killing him. I swing down with the back of my still-growing hand. Within the span of an instant, he withdraws his sword and twists in the air. He rolls down the surface of my hand and kicks off it to pass by my head and slip behind me. I hurriedly look back and see him upside down in the air. He's managed to get behind me.
Gah! He got me?
Was he using the straight-line Godspeed Flash as a mobility skill from the start? He's got a positional advantage now. Even if I were to turn and attack, his attack would reach me first. I bend forwards as I proceed with the dragonization of my entire body to strengthen my scales. This should be better than receiving the attack unprotected. Rather than attempting a fruitless attack, I'm better of devoting myself entirely to defense.
Dragon felling 1,000 cuts?
The instant after I brace myself upon hearing his shout, a sharp pain shoots through my head. His sword has pierced my scales.
Goo!
This level amount of damages. The moment I think that, a second blade stabs into my neck. His sword incessantly rains down on my head with tremendous speed. Before I'm able to counterattack, the downpour of blades travels down my back and finally ends with a single heavy blow to my tail. I turn to see Nell low to the ground, bounding away from me. His sword's no longer in hand, and he pulls a knife from his waist in place of a new weapon. His sword is stuck in my tail. In the last attack, he stabbed his sword into my tail then kicked the hilt to create distance. It was an incredible technique. After reaching my back, he rolled in the air repeatedly to build up speed while swinging his sword. After his first two attacks forced me to bend forwards, he ran down the length of my back to my tail. It's clearly a technique meant for fighting large magic beasts. It's only thanks to his small build that he can make full use of it. But it looks like this is as far as he can go. He seems to be out of breath, having apparently through most of his stamina. I'm more damaged than expected, but my wounds are far from fatal. A big part of the reason why is that the scales covering me are brought closer together in my more dragon-like state. The dragon felling name is certainly appropriate for the skill, since if I were still a plague dragon, I would surely have been minced into the ground. The battle is already decided.
I can still...
Nell props his back leg against the cave wall. I guess he plans on launching himself. I quickly slam my tail into the ground. The entire cave shakes. Ugh! His balance crumbles as he kicks off the wall, causing him to land without reaching me. In addition to his legs, he uses one of his arms to support himself. I take the chance to close the distance, twisting my tail in front of myself to attack. He lightly springs off the ground, holding out his knife. His plan is probably to avoid a direct hit and, by receiving the hit midair where it's easier for him to be sent flying, reducing the damage he takes. My tail smashes through his knife and continues onto his body. He hunches his shoulders to protect his body. The instant my tail touches him, he shoots towards the opposite wall. A cloud of dust erupts, and when it clears I see him crouched over with blood pouring from his feet. The feet he's so proud of are injured.
Huh. Huh.
As I lift my tail, I suddenly feel a presence from outside the cave. It's not a human. This size? No way, is it a manticore? I definitely killed that one, but it wouldn't be strange for there to be a second individual. I hurriedly look towards the entrance and see what looks like the head of a large lizard peering into the cave. It's a size smaller than me, and its ribs are visible pressed against its skin. But rather than looking feeble, it has an eerie appearance. Its skeletal structure looks somewhat close to a human's. Its body surface is covered in uneven grays, broken up by mottled spots. Withered wings sprout from its shoulders. It has the shape of a dragon, but I get the feeling that, if anything, it's closer to a devil of some sort. Yumo oh. It cries out in an eerie voice. I'm too taken at first aback to do anything but stand and watch, but when I see a light gathering in front of the monster's face I quickly gather my thoughts. It's rare to see a skill that gathers power like that. I'm reminded of the giant centipede's heat ray.
And no way.
Nell looks out of the cave with an expression of shock. He said he'd release the children whatever the result.
Why?
T their allies then? I do a status inspection of the creepy dragon.
Azalea are mine.
Species Earth Huma. Condition, Dragonization Technique LV4, Berserk, Minor. LV 56/85. HP 162/298. Mepe 298/324. Attack 384/256. Defense 302/201. Magic 311. Speed 221. Characteristic skills. Demon Dragon Blood, LV-Dragon Scales, LV4 Flight, LV1 Automatic HP Recovery, LV2 Automatic MP Recovery, LV2 Grisha Language, LV7 Swordsman Talent, LV7 Mage Talent, LV7 Resistance Skills. Curse Resistance, LV7 Physical Resistance, LV6 Magic Resistance, LV6 Fire Attribute Resistance, LV2 Poison Resistance, LV5 Cutting Resistance, LV4 Paralysis Resistance, LV4 Normal Skills. Fire Sphere, LV8 Aqua Sphere, LV4 Shadow, LV5 Gale, LV4 Gravity, LV4 High Rest, LV5 Resist, LV6 Quick, LV4 Summon, LV7 Flare, LV7 Dragonization Technique, LV4 Dragaflare, LV2 Title Skills. Dragon Mage, LV-White Mage, LV7 Black Mage, LV7 Sword King, LV7 Allrounder LV-Starved Hunters Battalion Commander, LV-
WH, what is that status?
Docteur Dragonisation Technique.
Azalea are mine. That thing's a human?
The creepy dragon, Azalea, opens its mouth wide and swallows the amassed light. Its cheeks swell and an evil glint shines in its eyes. I run towards the exit, canceling humanization technique as I do. Azalea's mouth opens. Red light shoots forth with a thunderous sound. The cave walls are destroyed as the red light impacts them as it pushes towards me. The entirety of the cave shakes and begins to collapse. My head hits the ceiling. While bumping into my partner, I'm just barely able to raise my foreleg high and receive the light with my chest. A second thunderous roar resounds. Chapter 318. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. 318 Azalea, sighed Azalea. To think I would be forced to use summon at this time. As its purpose is to act as a decoy, I summoned only a lesser Lacerda to conserve magic power, but being forced to use the magic power that I sacrificed my body for is not pleasant. Hearing my murmur, the mage by my side, Sherry, hangs her head apologetically. The magic she cast to hide my presence, was insufficiently precise, so it seemed that one of the Ouroboros' heads had noticed us. Sherry, your skill with magic is even praised by Noel. But that head of its had remarkably good perception. Our anti-Ouroboros force is split between 7 inside the cave and Sherry and myself outside. Though Sherry is only here to hide me from the Ouroboros. When I considered that enough must accompany Tolmankaka to prevent the worst from happening, these 8 are the most I could take with me. More importantly, it matters little what number I take with me. That is because I of course have no intention of carrying out a proper battle. If that really is an Ouroboros, then it is a magic beast worthy of the A-rank designation. The Ouroboros is known to fight by making use of its overwhelming stamina and magic power to raise an endless tide of undead, so it is fortunate that there have not been any undead other than the undead child from earlier. Even so, it is not an opponent that can be defeated through a frontal assault. Even in a weakened, humanized state, that does not change. I will lure the Ouroboros into the cave, then dragonize and release Dragaflare into the cave to collapse it and bury it alive. That has been my objective from the start. I told Tolmankaka that I would use Flare, but that was so that the other members would not know I was planning on burying them with it. Attempting to kill an Ouroboros with a Flare would be utter foolishness, and is doubtful whether Dragaflare could kill two. In order to kill it with any certainty, there is no other way but to ram it with Dragaflare while it is being crushed by the collapsing cave.
Azalea-sama?
When do you plan on recalling Noel-sama and the others?
Azalea-sama?
Inform Tolmankaka that they were the greatest factor in subjugating the Ouroboros. That means. Aelia-sama, are you not concerned for that beast man boy? We're in the midst of battle, so I don't have enough leeway for those feelings, but don't raise your voice so much. Sherry appears to want to say something but keeps her mouth closed. The casualties suffered by the starved hunters on this trip are far from normal. This will only increase that number by not even 10 people. This is only a small sacrifice for my lord's path. Eventually, the sound of repeated sword strikes can be heard from inside the cave. Nell must have used that sword skill of his. For him to use it now, it won't be long now. Their annihilation is only a matter of time. They lasted longer than I thought. Sherry, you've done enough. Go catch up to Tolman-sama and the others. Azalea-sama, what are you? I will use Dragonisation technique for the first time in a long while. The load on my body is severe, so it is not something I can use casually. But I can't shoot Dragaflare from a human body. Even if I could, the effect would be greatly diminished, and to make matters worse, my own body would be destroyed by the backlash. As I spread magic power throughout my body, the temperature of my blood rises sharply. I search my memories for the sensation of dragon blood mixing into my body and hold that mental image strongly in mind. My body immediately starts expanding as I'm assailed by a powerful excitement. I've undergone mental training so I could withstand it in an emergency, but the feelings it instills in me are far from easy to suppress. Perhaps it is inherent to dragons, but I am attacked by a strong urge to destroy. My perspective rises. At the edge of my field view, I see Sherry startled. I have used this on missions for Tolmankaka before, so many within the starved hunters should know I can do this, but seems it had yet to reach Sherry. I kick off the ground with my enlarged feet and rush towards the cave entrance. I grip the ceiling with my claw as I peer inside. There it is. Its appearance is diverged from what I expected, now looking like an unshapely mass of scales. It must have transformed to defend against Nell's attack. The mass of scales turns towards the entrance and meets my eyes. Yumo, oh. My voice leaks out involuntarily. This body, this blood, is eager to fight that dragon. I gather magic power in front of myself, creating a ball of red-hot light. Once enough magic power is accumulated, I swallow the sphere, then spit it towards the humanized Ouroboros. The shock of the Dragaflare tears apart the inner walls of the cave. Its destructive power is more than enough. Perhaps having noticed my actions, the Ouroboros undoes its humanization technique as it runs towards the cave exit. Its huge body presses against the cave walls. The Dragaflare explodes into its chest as it struggles to move. Together with the Ouroboros' two-layered roar, the cave begins to collapse. Huge clumps of earth tear from the walls and ceiling and pummel down onto it. It spreads its wings in an attempt to force back the collapsing earth and escape the destruction, but it is soon buried behind more earth that comes raining down. The thunderous sound continues on for some time. There is not the slightest sign of movement from the pile of earth that was the cave. I had feared that the Ouroboros might perhaps survive, but it looks like even it can't remain alive after being crushed under a mountain of earth. But I need to be certain. I worry that it could hide under the earth to restore its magic power. I once again open my mouth and gather magic power in front of me to form a red-hot sphere. It seems to be finally trying to break out through the ceiling. In that case, I adjust my aim further back slightly. I spot a slightly unnatural bulge in that area. I swallow the sphere as I spread my withered wings and leap up high. I then release my second Dragaflare. The scorching heat smashes through the earth and sand, sending shakes throughout the entirety of the collapsed cave. The earth splits open, revealing the prone figure of the Ouroboros. It seems I predicted its position correctly. Its pale body surface is exposed, burnt black in places. Blue blood leaks out where it has been crushed by rocks. Its wings have also been completely pulverized, and there are already no traces of it boldly struggling anymore. It doesn't move. Even though its position has been exposed and could continue to be hit by attacks, it doesn't stir at all. It's finally used up all its strength. I don't have enough magic power for another Dragaflare, but I can still lift out its corpse. I run over the mountain of collapsed earth, then leap up and aim its fallen back. The Ouroboros' eyes snap open and both of its heads rise. Its crushed wings spread open as it sends me flying with a swing of its foreleg. Whoa! I quickly scramble to my feet upon hitting the ground. It was an attack made as it was getting up, so fortunately there wasn't much force behind it. But how is it still able to move? I knew it was a monster of stamina, but I never thought it would be to this extent. It's still breathing even after taking 2 direct hits from Dragaflare and being caught up in the cave-in. With that being the case, why was it not moving before? I drop my line of sight to where it was and see the lith of our children that were taken hostage gathered together, all practically unhurt. Nell is also visible there. It seems the reason it headed further back was not to escape but rather to protect the children. But I still doubt it could have protected all of them entirely from the collapse. It probably used healing magic. I'm astonished. I exaggerated the terror of the Ouroboros to Nell in order to incite him, but I didn't think anything I said was factually incorrect. So I could never have imagined that it would still prioritize the children even after being driven into a corner to this extent. Its own body is in tatters. It must have prioritized the healing of the children and used up the last of its magic power. Its previous blow was pretty light. My remaining magic power is also poor. Maintaining my dragonist form for any longer is dangerous and puts my life at risk. But with this body, I can push through. Its body surface has been scraped away by the dragaflares and the cave-in, but there aren't any signs of it regenerating or healing with any speed. If I can attack its weak part with all my strength, I should be able to kill it.
Goo!
The Ouroboros glares at me from low to the ground. I suspect it can't even bear the weight of its own huge body at the moment.
You!
I quickly close the distance and swing my claw up to gouge out its vulnerable chest. I carve 4 deep lines through its exposed flesh.
Gwil! Ga!
Its enraged heads snap at me from either side. I am able to read its movements and quickly step back. I can do this. Its movements have slowed down. It's a death's door. It was extremely close, but it's my victory. You. I try to kick off the ground to leap into the air, but all I achieve is pressing my knees into the ground. I'm out of magic power. My body is about to revert. When I try to move my legs, my entire body is racked with a terrifying sharp pain. I've never kept up dragonization right until the limit before. I've always been too worried about what would happen to my body. I'm no longer in any state to fight. So I change my line of thinking. Up to now, I've focused on resisting the frenzied urges that come with dragonization. But now it is better to abandon myself to my instincts. I devote my thoughts only to maintaining my body. My body suddenly feels lighter. My field of vision narrows. I don't know if it's due to the excitement or the limits of my body, but my heart beats thunderously. The only sound I can hear is the beating of my own heart. It feels as though my body isn't my own, as though something else is moving it. But I can tell I'm aiming for the Ouroboros' chest. Attacks will easily pierce its exposed flesh. I instinctively know that the next attack will kill it. I hear the Ouroboros' cry. My right arm is bitten. I try to pull it back, but instead lose up to my shoulder. It's on the verge of death, but that's why it is able to make such a ferocious attack. But it's fortunate my arm was cleanly torn off rather than only bitten into. I leap to the side and swing the claw of my left arm towards it.
It should have hit.
I won. I should have won. But there's no sensation. There's no feedback. When I look down, I notice that my left arm hasn't risen. A faint memory rises to my consciousness. Ah, that's right, I let my left arm, my dominant arm, be taken by that undead girl in order to save magic power. I look up. The Ouroboros' heads mysteriously fade further and further away. Our eyes meet. I'm not able to hear what is said. The next instant, a powerful blow crashes into my side. Strangely, there's no pain. Fohahaha, Azalea, you've done well. To think you managed to kill that Ouroboros. The reason I have become king is entirely thanks to your strength.
What a good find you were indeed.
If it's my lord, then, no, if it's your majesty, then even if you missed that chance, you would surely have found your way to your current position nonetheless. As I restate myself, the corners of Tolman-sama's mouth raise in a smile. As of today, Tolman-sama is the king of Ardisia. I can't call him my lord like before. Your flattery is most welcome, Azalea. Fohahaha. No one is more suitable than you to be my right hand. As Tolman-sama is talking, Nell makes his appearance. Why, your majesty, it suits you well. You too? If you would only mumble them, then there's no need for you to give compliments that you aren't used to. My apologies. Your apology is accepted. Truly. You're to be a knight of my royal guard, so pull yourself together. You have plenty of courage. Understand, I'm about to show my majestic figure to the populace. Azalea, why are you laughing? No, I just thought it a bit surprising that you choose to add Nell to your royal guards. Appropriate rewards must be given to those who achieve great merit. And as I have always said, I cherish the strong. Nell fought the Ouroboros with his sword, dealt it a decisive blow, and returned alive. He has done more than enough to earn my approval. Though I did doubt my ears in that underground arena when you advised me to hire him. Didn't your majesty used to say that? That you need the strong and that my place is by your side. I simply saw Nell fighting back then and thought the same thing. You remembered? That was when I took you from Gobia's estate and invited you into the Starved Hunters. Why, recalling it now is most refreshing. Tolman-sama lets out a hearty laugh, then glances at a clock in the wall.
It's about time.
To the stage of my introduction, then. Let's go, Azalea, Nell. I feel a sudden dizziness. And then it ends. 319 Conclusion.
Oh.
Azalea, the half-dragon monster, leaps in front of me. It appears he's trying to land a solid hit on my vitals while staying out of reach. I swing my body towards him, but he stoops low and drives his claws below my head. His movement isn't particularly fast. His attack is focused only on power, resulting in a clumsy swing with all his weight behind it. But I can't avoid it. With my legs crushed, my magic power gone, and my consciousness hazy, even standing is a struggle. His claws dig in deep into my chest where my claws and skin have burned off. My gouged-out flesh and blood dance through the air as sharp pain runs through me.
Gwil. Ga.
Both my partner and I stretch out towards him with our fangs bared. As though reading our movements, he distances himself and restores his stance. He should be out of MP by now. Looking at his status, perhaps as a demerit of dragonization technique, his health is continuously falling. Compared to a dragon taking a human form, it seems the burden on a human that transforms into a dragon is greater. And yet why is he still able to move with such composure? My body feels heavy. The longer I can draw this out, the better thanks to my automatic recovery, but it doesn't look like I'll be given the chance. After all, he must be reaching the limit of maintaining his dragonist state. An even more violent attack is surely coming. I never would have thought he'd go as far as to bury his subordinate and the Lithovar children in the cave with me. He's quite the hardcore bastard. His actions are ruthless. It's also painful that he was able to hit me with a heavy attack while I was trying to recover inside the collapsed earth. Were it not for that, I would still have plenty of leeway. I should have quickly escaped and crushed him. Because I never felt my life to be in danger ever since I became an Ouroboros, I might have been more timid than I had to be and prioritized easy safety measures. My aim for a perfect victory backfired. Both in terms of intuition and battlefield experience, my opponent is far superior. Azalea holds his claws ready and bends his knees in preparation to jump towards me. You. But perhaps having run out of MP, he falls to his knees. I feel a brief moment of relief, but then an obsessive gleam reignites in his eyes, and, his legs trembling, he returns to his feet.
Yo!
He howls as though to encourage himself. It's an incredible show of willpower. But this must be as far as he can go. If I can endure the next attack, he should completely run out of MP. He jumps in front of me, swinging his right arm in a wide arc. I drag my body back in retreat. He stretches his arm out further, trying to close the distance. He must be in a hurry, almost out of time. His movement is very simple.
Ga.
My partner bites into his right arm. Then with her fangs deep in his shoulder, she tears her head to the side. His entire right arm rips off. She loosens her grip partway through, tossing the arm far away. The battle is decided the instant I feel relief. Azalea bends low and thrusts his left shoulder below my jaw. Having thought he'd received a decisive blow, I am completely taken by surprise. Taking any more damage is bad. While squeezing the dregs of my MP into auto-regeneration, I put all the strength in my body into a haphazard tackle. He should be faster than me. But the upward swing of his left arm stops partway through. He turns his gaze away from me and stares down at his left arm in shock. It only lasts a moment, but his appearance is strangely striking. Then his body shrinks rapidly. He must be out of MP. As I swing my claw toward him, I get the impression of a faint smile on his face. You've chosen a difficult path, haven't you, monster? Had I just one person who understood me, I would have been satisfied. My foreleg pierces Azalea's body. His body splits in two. His upper half thuds to the ground a short distance away. 784 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 784 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 90 to 91. I lie flat on the ground. Just for a bit. I want to rest and restore my HP and MP. If possible, my injured legs and chest. Though I might have to put off healing my wings. My gaze lands on Azalea's upper body. I stare at him for a few seconds. In his last moments, he spoke as though he saw through me. His normal and characteristic skills were exceptional, and he had all sorts of unusual skills. Perhaps he was treated as a monster.
What is it?
My partner calls out to me telepathically.
No, it's nothing.
I reply with that and take my eyes off Azalea. I now need to catch Tolman before he does anything to the feared gods. But there's not much I can do. After all, I have no idea where he could be. Maybe I really should focus on my wings with auto-regeneration? As I dimly look around, I notice a plume of smoke rising in the distance. Of course, it's within the forest.
WHY?
No way, is it Tolman? Did he light fires as a means of harassment? Or is the fire related to their objective somehow? I don't know the reason, but I no longer have a choice in what to do. If I take my time, he'll do things that can't be undone. I use the MP I automatically recover to restore my missing body parts with auto-regeneration, then return to above the collapsed remains of the cave and cut the ropes binding the children and transfer them to my body. Crying, they cling to the base of my neck. They must have been quite anxious. I spare a glance at the fallen Felis Huma swordsman, Nell. When the cave collapsed, he used his body to protect the children who couldn't move from falling rocks and fell into a comatose state. We tried using a high rest as light first aid, but he has yet to regain consciousness.
Dragon God Sama.
That person.
Are you going to kill them?
One of the children asks me falteringly. I quietly shake my head. When the cave started to collapse, he quickly went back for them. I don't think he'll be a threat to the Lithivars any longer. After getting them out of the collapsed cave, I put the children down. I point my head in the direction of the village, then look towards the ominous smoke rising from the forest. They're quivering in fear, but upon seeing the smoke and realizing it's not a small matter, they nod their heads in understanding. I'd rather take them all the way back to the village, but time is of the essence right now. I breathe in deep and gather magic power into my abdomen, then with a Ajiyubovh, I roar towards the village. The sound spreads far through the forest. This way any Lithivars that hear or arrow will come to rescue them. Monsters should avoid them too. I move a short distance away from the children and hit the ground with my tail to initiate a roll. Trees will be knocked down, but there's no helping it. It's far better than the forest burning up. This way I don't need to wait for my body to recover. Even with my legs in tatters, it's not a problem for a roll. My body should be in a much better state by the time I get there thanks to automatic recovery. I hit the ground with my tail every now and again to speed up. The trees in my path topple over entirely. Were I to look back, I would surely see a clean path straight through the forest. Chapter 320. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. 320, the end of the Sword Lord 1, sighed Tolman. I am anxious all the while as I escape with the 4th Battalion. I worry if Azalea can truly subjugate the Ouroboros. Were he to be defeated, all I would have done was earn laughter from my surroundings as one who led their private army to pointless deaths. Based on the principle of might makes right, I have invested a not insubstantial sum into my starved hunters. I used money to not only to gather the strong from Ardisia, but also from the neighboring countries. I had confidence that the power of my army was comparable even to the kingdom's order of knights. I have devoted half my lifetime to the starved hunters, and it is my purpose in life. You could say it is my most valuable possession. I have boasted of it on countless occasions to other nobles. For my starved hunters to be obstructed by a dragon and forced to retreat before mere barbarians, without having even completed their objective, I would be rendered a complete laughingstock. Were to happen now while the throne is vacant, my family name would be forever disgraced. I have entrusted my everything to Azalea now. Were he to win, then all would be good. Good. However, what can Azalea achieve with just a few soldiers against the dragon that defeated countless other soldiers so easily? I was seized by fear at the prospect of facing it myself and so leapt on Azalea's convenient suggestion and escaped, but is this really for the best? Everything I have hangs now on such a thin rope. My circumstances are terrible. Now that I have calmed down, these worries repeatedly turn over in my head. As I worry, Grodel speeds up his horse and approaches me. What is it, Grodel? Tolman-sama, I think we can't leave everything to Azalea after all.
Do you not think so too?
Well, that is true, but regardless, with our current military strength there is nothing. Have you forgotten? I already got information about the carbuncle from those barbarian brats.
Tell me.
I reply after a moment of deliberation. The information about the carbuncle had slipped my mind as a result of Azalea's interruption. But to be honest, I don't think it's a path with a very high chance of success. I may have the 4th Battalion with me now, but Azalea has taken the commander, Noel, with him as well as other strong individuals. Were we to fight the barbarians, there is a chance they could overwhelm us with their numbers and terrain advantage. It seems the glittering beast appeared during a great fire in the past. So if we were to light fires in this area, it might come to us. With the mythical beast, the carbuncle, in our hands, all our losses up to now would be overturned. It will come to us if we light a great fire?
Why?
Who knows? Eyewitness accounts of it are extremely rare. It might have many behaviors that we know little about.
What should we do? Tolman-sama?
HRM. It might be worth trying. Should nothing come of it, it's fine if we escape after setting the fire. I reply and Grodel grins. As expected of Tolman-sama. Hee, letting it all end by running away would be boring after all. This is how we need to be. I stop the others and gather those who can use fire magic and instruct them to set fires altogether. I talk with Grodel about the details of our escape, including the escape route and who can use water magic. So, we could reorganize the units like this. How about it, Azali? As I say that, I remember that Azalea is not here and breathe a sigh. He is clever, so I have always allowed him to perform the final check, so his absence is quite vexing. He would always grasp my intention and sing high praises for me, all while expanding on the details in unexpected ways or setting up insurances in case things turn sour. Without him to check my ideas, I feel anxious about whether or not this truly is okay.
Grodel, how about it? Well, isn't it fine?
There's no helping the fact that he's not here. I breathe a second sigh. I suddenly look up to see children-like figures sitting on tree branches, faintly shining. They're not wearing any clothes, and their unshapen heads and bodies look as though they're made of clay. Those are creepy.
What are they?
Were they called Rarens? We saw them on the way here.
What are they?
Well, they shouldn't be a threat. Though it seems there's quite a lot of them in this forest. Azalea would surely have known more. There's no helping it. It's good that they're not a threat, but just looking at them is unpleasant. Oi, someone drive them away. They're disgusting.
Huh.
But as a soldier draws his sword and approaches one, it disappears as it moves away. Even when shot with magic, they disappear. And for some reason, their number appears to increase each time. There were 10 at most at the start, but now there are close to 50 scattered on nearby branches, as though monitoring us.
What are you doing?
Hurry up and drive them away. My apologies, Tolman-sama. I'll make sure it's done right away.
Honestly.
After a few minutes, a Raren is finally hit by an arrow. Its body snaps back as it's hit, scattering a green liquid. The other Rarens disappear one after the other. Just as I think I will finally be rid of them, more appear to fill in the spaces. Nearly 100 reproachful eyes look down on us from nearby branches.
Kill them.
Shoot them with arrows. With so many gathered, you should hit even with your eyes closed. As before, most of the arrows are avoided, but gradually more and more of them hit their mark. But in the time 10 Rarens are killed, their number increases to around 500.
What? What are they?
It's okay. They should be harmless. They're clearly hostile. Let's change location. I feel a bit unwell looking at them too. We move, but as before, the Rarens continue to increase in number, spreading out into the surrounding area. I would never have thought this forest could hold so many. It's already difficult to estimate their number. Wherever we go, there are more Rarens packed on tree branches a short distance away. We have already killed close to 100, but it doesn't have the slightest effect on them. Gee, great, that hit 3 of them. But it doesn't matter how many we kill. A soldier shooting arrows mumbles a complaint. The next moment, about 100 Rarens pop up in a circle around him. They jump towards him in quick succession. He screams, and the surrounding soldiers also cry out in horror. Staffs and bows point towards the scream.
Don't shoot.
Stop.
The surrounding soldiers unleash a volley of magic and arrows. A portion of the Rarens burst open, but the majority disappear as they escape. The soldier in the middle dies as he is riddled with arrows, but his body also appears slightly withered and shrunken. Rarens appear surrounding another soldier. Shouting, he tries to escape, but trips over in the blink of an eye as they pile onto him. A second volley kills many, but the soldier in the middle also becomes a corpse. I feel dread as I imagine them surrounding me.
What is this, Grodel?
Weren't they meant to be harmless?
I don't understand, why are they?
Burn the forest.
Start quickly. If there's a fire, they shouldn't be able to get close.
Yes.
Understood.
The mages start sending repeated blasts of fire towards the trees, even though their units had yet to finish being reorganized. In a hurry, everyone starts to secure the escape route and the water mages. I decide to leave the area too. As I flee, I feel that they continue to increase in the surrounding area. I feel a sense of foreboding as they accumulate, and the color fades from the thick foliage of the surrounding trees. Before long, brown leaves fall to the ground. It doesn't end with that as the withered trees topple over and block our path. The horses panic and stop.
Don't stop.
Jump over.
Huh?
A huge number of Rarens cling to my horse's leg. I hurriedly jump off, distancing myself as I draw my sword. Rarens rain down from the surrounding branches. Flowers and vegetation wither where they walk, their shine growing ever brighter. It's such a repulsive sight that it's hard to imagine they could ever be evaluated as harmless forest children.